Chapter 1272, Order Form. The first to undergo a change is the fantasy bird that looks like a child, but is actually the Golden Crow Princess. Big sister, is it really gone? I can exchange it for many feathers. My feathers are loved by many people in Kunlun. The Golden Crow Princess's expression of wanting bread was clearly written on her face. Even though she has not yet been hatched from the Queen Mother of the West's egg and can only occasionally appear in Kunlun God's domain in the form of an incarnation, the little Golden Crow Princess is still the idol of all fantasy species in Kunlun God's domain. Her feathers are the favorite mascot of the fantasy species in Kunlun God's domain, worth much more than She's 4th grade golden pineapple tilde package. However, sometimes the value of an item cannot be calculated so easily. In this crowded ball of legends, the golden pineapple tilde package that she brought out is truly one of a kind, a treasure with no substitutes. I know, but it's really gone. That loaf of bread was the only one. Looking at the tearful and expectant little Golden Crow Princess, she expressed his helplessness. There is really only one 4th grade golden pineapple tilde package like that. Even if you kill him, you can't make another one. If she were to eat any other 4th grade golden cream bread, the Golden Crow Princess, who has tasted the Golden Crow's essence, would immediately uncover his true identity, and that would be disastrous. No. Can't eat it. The Golden Crow Princess stared blankly at the faceless god with his unchanging steel face, and her tiny heart suffered the biggest blow of her life. The things she wants, even the moon in the sky, can be picked for her by someone else, and she herself is a great being capable of becoming the sun. She has had a smooth sailing life since she was little, almost free of worries. Until now, she couldn't eat what she wanted, and couldn't get the treasure she desired. She was overwhelmed by a feeling called frustration. Why is there nothing? I want bread. The Golden Crow Princess pouted and looked at she with a hopeful expression. I also want one. Do you still have them? How much? After eating several gourmet pineapple buns made by the nightmare chef, Ouroboros shamelessly approached. What's with this mysterious code that sells addictive drugs? I'm not a drug dealer. She looked helplessly at Ouroboros, licking his lips as he approached. Oh, I know. You don't want money. So, should I give it to you? Flora can prove that my love fortune-telling is super accurate. Ouroboros boasted, not long after being chased by the Dusk Witch and nearly getting marked. This time, Great Witch Flora didn't argue when Ouroboros used her as a trademark, because after meeting the senior witch, her love luck really changed. This useless snake itself may be useless, but her reputation as the top mysterious fortune-teller is not just empty hype. If her mysterious fortune-telling didn't have substance, given her habit of running away from debts, she would have been turned into snake skewers countless times by now. If you can't make your fortune-telling more clear, then it's not very helpful to say that you will meet your destined lover every 1,000 years. It's really frustrating to wait for 999 years just to have a little hope, only to find out that it's already 1,000 years. How disappointing. We don't have any goods left, they have all been sold, she said angrily as he looked at the sneaky Ouroboros. The reputation of the majestic and mysterious fantasy species had already been ruined ever since Hua chased her to the point where she had nowhere to run and no doors to escape. Out of all the legendary beings that she had encountered, none of them had weaker fighting abilities than Ouroboros. Despite having a huge body that could easily wrap around the stars, its fighting power was not even on par with Cassina the battle god, let alone Hydera the water god, who only needed the strength of one of its snake heads to defeat this fantasy species giant snake, according to Yunshi's thoughts. How could Ouroboros, who belongs to the legend ranked of mysterious snakes, be so useless? This was something that she couldn't understand at all. Let me know when you have more goods, I'll give you my contact information. If there are any goods available, inform me and I'll offer a high price for them, Ouroboros said determinedly, showing no signs of giving up. Some kind of intuition told her that the golden pineapple bun she just had was different from all the bread she had eaten before, with a special kind of magical power. This intuition was not unique to Ouroboros. I want it too. If you're willing to sell, I can help with the purchasing channel. Cassina the battle god also joined the group of people ordering goods. Seeing delicious things but not being able to eat them is a lifelong regret for food lovers. I want it too. The Golden Crow Princess quickly joined the crowd competing for it, offering even more tempting privileges. I can have Kunlun God's domain open a door for you in exchange for specialty. Senior, I know you must still have one. Finally, even the great witch Flora looked at Yunshi with soft, irresistible eyes. That kind of delicious bread, once you've tasted it, you'll never forget it in your lifetime. Moreover, it was a gift given to her by the senior, with special commemorative significance. After tasting such a delicious pineapple bun, how can she still eat other inferior bread? Senior, you're really mean. You must know that I'll never forget the taste of this bread in my whole life, so you brought out such precious food. Do you all really have to be so enthusiastic? Yunshi wiped away his tears, watching as the legend-ranked experts placed their orders with him. Ouroboros has a secret channel, a smuggling route. Don't be fooled by Ouroboros' appearance, she has managed to escape the many debt collectors in God's domain time and time again. As the saying goes, there's always a way. This smuggling channel belongs to Ouroboros exclusively, and it is also well known in the black market of Endless God's domain. Cassina the Battle God has a channel provided by the official authority of Sky Sword God's domain. It is the specialized route of the 6th Sky Sword, where everything goes tax-free with no inspections. It's even more profitable than smuggling, a privilege of the Sky Sword. Great Witch Flora's channel is even more extensive, perhaps larger than the previous two combined. This is one of the very few channels in Endless God's domain that doesn't require the use of a star bridge. It is an unrestricted channel possessed by the Dusk Witch who excels in dimensional teleportation magic. While it may not be as effective as a star bridge for long-distance transportation, it surpasses the star bridge in delivering goods to specific locations and transporting certain forbidden items that cannot be seen by anyone. This is an exclusive means of transportation that even the star bridge cannot achieve. For traders in Endless God's domain, any of these three channels is enough to make them bankrupt in order to acquire the opportunity. The privileges of the legend ranked are indeed beyond reasoning. Chapter 1273 Chapter 4 Channels, one more, but there are also more than the legendary privilege of these three, and even one of them is the privilege of the Big Witch who shuttles the dimension is even more unreasonable, more scarce channels. That is the external channel that Princess Jinwu is preparing to open to Yunshi, the Kunlun domain. C1 Wall 3 Chinese Network. This is Kunlun, a mysterious fantasy species that inhabits many legendary dreams. Even the Tianjian deity that has been born with 17 swords is incomparable. The entire Eastern Divine Domain is completely closed to the outside world, and the highest domain that the Star Bridge cannot connect with is the Dream Domain of the Seven Towers. Even a leaf of Kunlun's domain, a soil, and some people buy it at a big price, and this leaf is not guaranteed. This soil has a little breath of dreams, even pieces of hair. As the only known fantasy domain in the Eastern Gods with a large number of dreamy species, and the reputation of the Queen of the Kunlun Lord, the mystery of the Kunlun Gods is the top in the whole endless domain. Because the existence of the creation of the West Queen Mother in the Kunlun domain is not necessary to trade with the outside world, it can be self-contained. It can be said to be a perfect place. A channel that can enter and exit this fantasy domain, that is, how many big businessmen of the endless domain are dreaming, and the invaluable treasure of profit is uncountable. The opening of Princess Jinwu, even the of Cassina, is more focused on her identity. The creation crystal of her body is personally given by His Majesty the West Queen, which is equivalent to marking the Kunlun divine in this little princess. If someone dares to hurt her, just wait. Probably this is the meaning, even if you don't look at the power of creation, the light itself has a huge deterrent. I am afraid that even the abyss in the abyss, the monarch in the nightmare world, did not dare to do anything to the little princess. Then there will be goods in the future. I will ship it. I have harvested 4 different channels at a time, even if the smallest channel is also the black market, and I don't know what these channels mean. He simply memorized the contact information, coordinates, and secret numbers of these channels. After thinking about the future, the golden pineapple package will be sent out after time. Okay, be sure to give it to me first. I want to buy money for my mother. Princess Jinwu broke into a smile, looking forward to the expression. You don't have to spend so much, just the 4th order bread, just the value of the item. She quickly shook his head. He is not a black-hearted businessman who makes a difference, but an ethical baker. What is the price of the fourth-order bread? In any case, the Kunlun domain should distinguish the value and give the equivalent exchange. Shi's pocket money. Shi did not dare to think about what level of treasure. Jinwu princess himself does not know what to do. He got a light furnace from her. I can't afford to sell bread in this life. Predecessors. Give me the right to sell the business. This is the bread that I gave to you. The big witch Fushi looked at the magnificent Princess Jinwu. A mother with a creational order is amazing. Hey, it's really amazing. If you have money, you can do whatever you want. It is the special channel of the Kunlun gods. Even Fu Fula was shocked. This is one of the few areas in the endless gods that her second-order shuttle magic cannot reach. Similar places, there is the Dragon Palace of the Northern Divine to the Dragon God Asher, the Pantheon of the Gods of the Western Gods, Ionia, and the Abyss of the Darkness of the Confucian Divine, the Pain of the Unknown Lady. City, the interior of the 7 towers of the core of the Star Bridge network. That is to say, even the big devil who can shuttle the gap of the dimension cannot enter the place covered by the power of creation, which is the gap between the two forces. The great existence of the creation itself will bring about the interference of time and space, and rarely appear elsewhere in their respective regions. Even if you need to go out occasionally, you usually use the descending body after lowering the level of power. In recent thousands of years, even the body has rarely appeared, and almost all have entered a state of silence. Until recently, the existence of the 5 creations seemed to be due to a certain reason, and appeared in a certain domain that was originally unknown, causing a large blockage of the Star Bridge. It is said that the loss caused by that time caused several large chambers of commerce to lose money, and many people jumped from the tower until the satellite bridge system returned to normal. In the meantime, there is a big witch who can travel through the power of the stars without the need for a star bridge, but it is a lot of fun. Compared with a channel that can trade with the closed Kunlun domain, the point she earned is really just a small amount of money. Who told people to have a mother of creation, and it seems to be the kind of daughter who loves her daughter. The predecessors earned this, and this channel is simply the same as a world tree, a cash cow that can continuously produce wealth. Oh, in this case, the predecessors seem to have satisfied her. The conditions that seem unrealistic now may be the hardest. Well, no, how can I use this condition to ask the predecessors? The predecessors, however, have 4 ancient gods who really love each other. They seem to have no interest in making money. They really are the ancient gods and predecessors, and they are more calm than the later generations. I will give it to you later. Futura. 1 order is also ordered, and 2 are also ordered. As a professional baker, there is no reason not to sell. Oh, don't forget my share. Ouroboros reminded Yunshi, I also have good things in my special channel. Others will definitely not get the goods. You can never imagine good goods. Why are you ordering bread? It's like talking about underground goods like contraband. Yunshi didn't look at the serpent or Ouroboros, but he nodded. Anyway, it's just bread, and no one can know his position through bread. For the sake of future escape, money and treasures are necessary. Whoever called to chase him is the 4 generations of ex-girlfriends who have the same rank as the Western Queen. The Kunlun domain, which is in a neutral state, is really a clear stream in the mudslide for Yunshi. So, my copy is also please. If you have trouble, you can use my name. Fighting Cassina gave Yunshi a promise. This promise seems to be casual, but people who know the character of Cassina know that she usually looks casually yes, but when fulfilling the promise, it is absolutely not sloppy. This promise represents the will of the martial art of the undefeated king of the fighting. P.S. The first of the list. Chapter 1274, Cyber Elf Alpha's gaze in his entire life, Yunshi had only sold bread in the small town. The largest trade he had ever made was recently when he sold bread to his childhood friend, Elphilis. He couldn't even imagine what those 4 channels, especially the one revealed to him by the Golden Crow Princess, represented. Ouroboros channel is a black market channel that specializes in selling illicit goods, spread throughout the entire Endless Gods domain. The 6th channel, the Sky Sword, is Cassina the Battle Gods' official special channel for the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament. It is a channel where even illicit goods can pass through without scrutiny. Great Witch Flora's channel is the fastest and most accurate private channel in the entire Endless Gods domain. It has the highest success rate in one-on-one deliveries and is not monitored. The Golden Crow Princess's Kunlun special channel is the only one of its kind in the entire Endless Gods domain. It is an exclusive channel that has never existed before, an unprecedented private channel. Kunlun Gods domain never had any need for merchants. This channel hasn't been built yet, but the Golden Crow Princess dared to suggest it to Yunxi. In the Kunlun Gods domain, whatever the Golden Crow Princess says, is considered the truth, the law. After all, she is the beloved daughter of the Lord of Kunlun, the Queen of the Western Palace, and the son of the Kunlun Gods domain. If she says it exists, then this special channel that doesn't exist yet will definitely exist. In other words, even before the end of Yunxi's ball, they've already negotiated 4 channels that are worth enough to drive the large merchant associations of the Endless Gods domain crazy. This includes the Kunlun Gods domain channel, which theoretically cannot be reached by any merchant association and doesn't actually exist. In the era of Endless Gods domain, where channels are everything, Yunxi now has 4 channels that can bring in unlimited money, even making those at the legend ranked tempted. Though his main intention was just to handle the orders for the 4 legend-ranked golden pineapple packages, without any other thoughts. Well, let's forgive Yunxi, who has never studied business. Goo goo. After placing the order for the golden pineapple packages, Ouroboros returned to the other side of the table, satisfied, and continued to eat and drink. I never thought you liked bread so much. Cassina the battle god seemed curious about Ouroboros' preference for bread. I used to not like bread at all, but this one is different, completely different. Ouroboros was drunk, with a hazy yet changing gaze. Commonly known as being drunk. You feel it too, seems like it's not just an illusion. Cassina the battle god also found it strange. She hadn't eaten many legend-ranked delicacies in Endless Gods domain, since that kind of lifestyle profession didn't really exist. She had tried many delicacies within the hero-ranked field, like the current appetizer, shredded squid, which was one of her favorites. The ingredients were supposedly prepared from the tentacles of some inferior evil god from the abyss. Due to the strong vitality of those evil gods, even if their tentacles were cut off, they would quickly regenerate. Hunting the tentacles of inferior evil gods was a popular side job for newcomers aiming to advance to the legend ranked. This was probably the easiest to obtain material for the legend ranked in Endless Gods domain. After detoxification and curse degradation, these evil gods' tentacles could be baked into delicious shredded squid, the pinnacle of hero-ranked appetizers. However, ease of acquisition for the legend ranked was relative. In reality, these shredded squids were quite valuable. In the past, when Cassina the battle god was short on money, she would sell some of these tentacles from the abyss. Today she ate a lot of squid fillet, which is worth more than a whole city. Only a party like Red Heart Queen's Masquerade would generously provide so many high-quality hero-ranked foods for the guests to enjoy. If it weren't for the smell of Yunxi's bread, both Ouroboros and Cassina the battle god would have been very satisfied with the food at the dance. Oh, why was there that bread? Cassina the battle god looked sadly at her empty wine glass. Not being able to have something makes one crave it even more. If she had known that there was only one bread, she might have tried her hand at being a bread-stealing expert. She had more than 70% confidence in snatching it, even if her opponent was Great Witch Flora. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Dim starlight spread from the maple leaf gate in the sky, announcing that another guest had accepted the invitation from Red Heart Queen and would be crossing billions of galaxies to reach the venue. This is a divine smell that I've never smelled before, and it's very new too. Ouroboros looked at the door that was about to open, guessing the identity of the one coming. It really is new, a completely unfamiliar smell. Cassina the battle god glanced at the faceless god. Unlike this god with an ancient divine aura, the divine aura coming through time and space this time is very, very new. Becoming a god is not easily achieved. Without enough legends, it often takes tens of millions of years for a new generation of gods to become gods. Every new god is a big event in the whole Endless Gods domain. However, The god who is coming has no trace of the long years of sedimentation like the faceless god. They are a genuine new era god. Moreover, they possess completely different divine characteristics from all the gods that Cassina the battle god knows, carrying some kind of new rules of divinity. I know. It's her. The youngest successor god. Flora lifted her head. As the great witch who can travel through dimensions, she knows the features of all the gods in Endless God's domain, including this special newly born god. Alpha, the newest generation god born from the god crystal, the ultimate fantasy of the scientific god's domain. Yunshi's body shook, and shook again. Can it be? Is that Alpha, the cyber elf Alpha from the Starry Sky chessboard? What's going on with this Red Heart Queen's ball? Why are all these people attending? Aside from Great Witch Flora, the others are all very dangerous. It would be disastrous if their identities were exposed. Countless codes fell like symbols, then converged into the shape of a silver cyber elf. Cyber elf Alpha has arrived. Silver hair, bare feet, with endless data flashing in her eyes. The moment cyber elf Alpha arrived at the ball, she fixated on someone who resembled herself. With silver features, wings adorned with golden red ornaments, and a certain non-human texture, she looked just like the perfect puppet imagined by humans. Who are you? Where are you from? Why is it like this? Cyber elf Alpha stared at the silhouette closest to her at the ball and asked. Chapter 1275, A Dangerous Question. She is very nervous. The disguise of the faceless god fooled Great Witch Flora, fooled Ouroboros and the teacher Cassina the battle god who knew him, and even fooled the Golden Crow princess who had eaten his bread. Except for cyber elf Alpha, Yunshi was uncertain. It can be said that among all the legend-ranked beings that Yunshi knew, cyber elf Alpha was the most unique deity, perhaps even one of a kind. The ultimate fantasy of God's domain in science, claiming that as long as there is enough computational power, there is nothing that cannot be computed by the new generation gods. Modeling the entire human population of mechanical God's domain and watching them destroy themselves over and over again, only to find the best solution to a problem. Maybe she figured something out. Yunshi felt, for the first time, that even the disguise of the faceless god wasn't enough to be safe. He instinctively sensed that the way cyber elf Alpha looked at him was different from how she looked at others. That was a scrutinizing gaze, trying to uncover all his secrets. In cyber elf Alpha's eyes, there was no problem that couldn't be solved with computational power. If not, then it must be because the computational power is not enough. This truth is also the ultimate fantasy of mechanical God's domain science, which is based on having unlimited computational power, analyzing all the world's rules, and reaching the essence of everything. The birth of cyber elf Alpha's mechanical God's domain has set it on a different path, where every day brings new changes. I am. Yunshi was thankful once again that he was inside the faceless god, otherwise his expression would have given him away. Alpha, this is not mechanical God's domain, you don't have such terrifying power. Flora stepped forward and expressed her hostility towards Alpha. This hostility came so suddenly that even Flora herself found it strange, but she felt threatened by cyber elf Alpha. Her gaze towards the senior was very special. This is not good at all. Flora. Dusk Witch. Just like Great Witch Flora who had contact with all the gods, cyber elf Alpha also had all known information about the legend ranked. Well, except for the Starry Sky chess master whose true identity is unknown, there is very little information. Among them, the materials about Great Witch Flora are ranked very high among all the legend rankeds. Among all the great witches in the witch god's domain, she is the only one who possesses the eternal magic of dimensional travel, and is known as the Dusk Witch. When she is kind, she will save the people of a country at any cost. When she is cold-hearted, she also kills millions of contaminated humans with her own hands. So her group is a chaotic neutral, she is a mysterious and changeable witch. Red Heart Queen Ada. Ouroboros. Cassina the battle god. Queen Mother of the West. A crystal fantasy species of the sun. Apart from the nearly blank information about the faceless god, cyber elf Alpha accurately identified all the attendees of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Only the faceless god gave her a feeling of similarity yet complete strangeness. This is the Red Heart Queen's ball. Don't get too arrogant, Alpha. Flora herself didn't know why, but she became uneasy when she noticed Cyber Elf Alpha staring at Yunxi. Why? Even though it was the first time experiencing the beauty of love and understanding what their ideal lover might be like. It was supposed to be a happy time, but Cyber Elf Alpha came and shattered that happiness, making her feel so anxious and uneasy. Senior, why aren't you speaking? Why aren't you looking at me? This new generation deity, who clearly hasn't even developed properly, can't be as good-looking as me. I was the first to come, the person closest to the senior. I apologize for my rudeness. Cyber Elf Alpha nodded. Just like Flora, she found that her calculations had some small errors. Leaving Mechanical God's domain and coming to this special Red Heart Queen's masquerade seemed to have caused a partial decrease in her computational power. Especially when interacting with the unknown deity over there, with a steel body and a girl's face, she always felt that her calculations were a bit chaotic. Did she catch some unknown virus when she was traveling through space? Even though there was no large-scale supercomputing involved, and there was no pressure like playing against the Starry Sky chess master, there is no other explanation besides a virus. Falling from the sky, Cyber Elf Alpha's snow-white feet hovered about 5 centimeters above the ground as she naturally joined the side of the faceless god, the Golden Crow Princess, and the Great Witch Flora. Are we really so unwelcome? Ouroboros, who was drunk, looked at Cyber Elf Alpha, who wasn't coming over, with a look of distress. They don't drink, do they? Cassina the battle god shrugged. From her perspective, the Golden Crow Princess, Flora, and Cyber Elf Alpha were all newcomers who hadn't yet grasped the allure of alcohol. Burp also without having a drink, the year hasn't started. Ouroboros, who was already letting loose, blinked and continued to drink excessively. Well, even if I get drunk, with Cassina the battle god around, I'll be fine even if the sky falls. I'll just focus on eating and drinking. What a terrifying Azura scene. Yunxi, with tears in his eyes, looked at the teams on the left, right, and center. On the left, there was the Golden Crow Princess, who was biting her finger and curiously looking at him. She was definitely the daughter of the Queen Mother of the West, who should not be provoked. The person on the right looks very calm, but always stares at him, as if trying to see through Cyber Elf Alpha disguised as the faceless god. In the middle is someone who looks a bit unhappy, but also filled with anticipation, the Great Witch Flora. I'd like to ask, how can we be friendly to the 3 people at the legend ranked, a fantasy creature, a deity, and a great witch? Senior, please continue telling me how to fall in love. I want to know more and more about you, Senior. For example, what does your ideal lover look like? Flora gathered up her courage and launched a series of attacks on Yunxi. Yes, defense is not her strong point, but the Dusk Witch is a fearless great witch who defeats all opponents with powerful magic like a storm. Whether it's in battle or in love, she will never retreat, otherwise she wouldn't actively seek Ouroboros to divinate her future. My ideal lover. Yunxi paused, then inexplicably felt many gazes, almost the gazes of all the guests at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Can I not answer this question? Chapter 1276. Their Lover's Appearance, Part 1, Pressure. Incredibly enormous pressure. Yunxi had never thought in his whole life that he would say his standards for an ideal lover in front of 5 legends of rank. Moreover, does this kind of thing really have any reference value? Clearly, everyone has different standards for an ideal lover. Some people like girls who are busty and innocent. Some people like girls with long legs, perfect figures, who can sing and dance. Some people who have a special liking only focus their gaze on small girls who are as tall as their own chest. Even women who are completely washed up and love to drink alcohol all day are not without admirers. In short, it can be summed up as different strokes for different folks. But why does he always feel like his answer will cause a major accident? I need to carefully consider every word and sentence when talking about my ideal lover. Yunxi thought countless times, so as not to cause any misunderstandings, you don't need to be exceptionally pretty. The Golden Crow Princess nodded as if she understood, Flora revealed a confident smile, Ouroboros was dead drunk, Cassina the battle god perked up his ears, and Cyber Elf Alpha seemed lost in thought. Why are you all so engrossed in listening? It's just a trivial love lecture, on the same level as Love for Dummies. Why are you, the legend ranked, listening with such relish? She was on the verge of collapse. He should have kept his mouth shut and not tried to comfort the seemingly dejected Great Witch Flora. If he knew it would turn into this situation, he wouldn't even open his mouth. You don't need a special identity or status. She still didn't know Hua's true identity, his childhood sweetheart, but that didn't stop him from liking her. He liked her so much that he couldn't restrain himself, even if he knew they might separate in the future. Every time he gave her the bread he made with his own hands, her happy expression made him feel like he wouldn't regret it for the rest of his life. Yes, that's right, race and identity are not a problem. Big sister is amazing. Children have the purest thoughts, and their way of love is different from adults. It's so innocent and adorable. Do race and identity not matter? For Great Witch Flora, understanding such concepts used to be a bit difficult, but now she understands. The one who broke the wall she had built around herself was either someone else or a divine predecessor in front of her, different in race and identity. The topic of love. Cyber Elf Alpha seemed to understand the reason for this gathering only now. For her, it was also an unfamiliar field. Is love necessary for Cyber Elf? In the data stored by the quantum computer group on the star planet, there are countless literary works about love. But for Cyber Elf Alpha, they are just groups of simple data. Cyber Elf Alpha's impression of love is largely influenced by the natural behavior controlled by hormone secretion and the desire to reproduce offspring. However, now she has doubts. The Great Witch of Witch God's domain, Dusk Witch Flora. The princess from Kunlun God's domain, protected by the power of creation, and a divine bird. Do they, like humans, also engage in acts of love driven by uncontrolled hormone secretion for the sole purpose of reproducing offspring? No, it's not possible. Beings of the legend ranked have entered the concept of eternal immortality, field, and are not controlled by simple physiological desires. Especially the Golden Crow Princess, who doesn't even have a true form now, but is only an incarnation formed by the pure power of the sun. The physiological impulses that humans cannot resist simply don't exist in beings of the legend ranked. Even the heavily drunk Ouroboros over there was not captured by the desires of the body but willingly immersed themselves in the pleasure brought by the wine. It goes without saying that Cassina the battle god is definitely not someone who gets distracted by alcohol. They are just simply enjoying themselves. Therefore, it can be concluded that the concept of love in the legend ranked is not based on physical desires, but on a higher level of understanding. In this case, even as a cyber elf, she is not incapable of falling in love. So, who among all the people here has the most experience in love? The answer pointed to the faceless god, which is Shi. Necessary courses and studies are rare challenges for Cyber Elf Alpha, who possesses immense computational power. The world of love in the legend ranked is one such problem that cannot be analyzed in this world. After all the problems related to the concept of the legend ranked are difficult to solve and are a field that Cyber Elf Alpha pays great attention to. The person I like is full of vitality. Shi racked his brain, trying to depict an ideal image that is both intimate and gentle yet resilient. The person who is closest to this image is his true first love since childhood, Hua, but mixed with the image of another dream lover, Lilibet the guarding sky sword. Someone who makes me feel a strong attraction when they have confidence. Let's try to think about a vague goal and give a possible solution based on the topic of an ideal lover and our own experiences. For Shi, who hasn't finished studying calculus for monkeys, putting together this answer really killed a bunch of brain cells. Full of energy, confident. Flora straightened her chest proudly, representing her extraordinary magical talent, which flickered with each movement. So energetic and confident. Even if the opponent is Cassina the battle god, Flora has confidence in standing undefeated, transforming into the great crow that can travel through dimensions. Except for a few places, there's nowhere she can't go in Endless God's domain. She is the free and unrestrained great witch, the Dusk Flora. Yes, that's it. The Golden Crow Princess raised her little hand and loudly stated the characteristics of the person she likes. My favorite person can fly with me on the 33rd day. He and I are a perfect match. One day, We will plant a sun together. When we are together, we will grow so many, many suns. One for the Antarctic, one for the Arctic Ocean, making the ends of the world all sunlit. One hanging in the winter, one hanging at night, filling the earth with warmth. No, little princess. Yunxi, sweating profusely, watched the outspoken little princess of the Golden Crow. Other girls only chant this as a cute nursery rhyme. This person can truly grow suns. Chapter 1277, Their Lovers Look, Part 1. By then, I will make the world full of suns. There was an explosive speech. This world is such a nightmare, with a bunch of suns in the sky, it's impossible to find a way to survive. The speech of the Golden Crow Princess acted like an uncontrollable switch, triggering a resonance among the others. Even though she didn't ask a single question about what their ideal lover looked like, the performance or, let's say, the confessional gathering started right away. The second one to appear was Dusk Witch Flora, Yunxi's good student from the witch god's domain. My lover should be calm and composed just like Senior. No, it's not true. I'm not calm and composed at all. In fact, I'm so overwhelmed that I feel like I'm about to explode. If it wasn't for the disguise of the faceless god, you would see beads of sweat all over my forehead right now, Flora. Don't let the impassive expression of the faceless god mislead you. Actually, you don't need a lot of wealth. It's enough to have a way into Kunlun god's domain. That channel, isn't it used for delivering golden pineapples? Yunxi, who knows nothing about the endless god's domain business system, is completely confused. The school in compulsory education doesn't teach students about this level of interstellar trade. It's the most top-notch course in the highest-level educational institution in the endless god's domain. It's really hard to make a baker who has only sold bread understand the value of the exclusive trading rights and special channels in the Starbridge era. It's a topic that could fill hundreds of books. The most important thing is to care about people, just like the Golden Crow Princess. I want to feel that he is special. Flora, like the Golden Crow Princess, also dreams of a future with her lover. In spring, I will take him to see the blooming flowers in Eastern God's domain and drink tea under the pink petal-filled trees. In summer, I will wear a cute swimsuit and swim with him in the Oceanic God's domain, diving to catch octopuses. In autumn, I will take him to a God's domain filled with lots and lots of delicious food, so we can taste culinary delights from all over the endless God's domain. In winter, I will go with him to see the aurora, have a picnic in the snowy wilderness, and enjoy our time alone together. No matter the season, I want to create beautiful memories with him. Every day is a brand new day. Endless God's domain is so big. We spend each season in a different part of God's domain, exploring different sceneries and making a little money selling local specialties. Such a romantic and girly statement. If only there wasn't that little hint at smuggling. Flora, you seem quite skilled at it. Having dimensional teleportation magic for smuggling is enough to make all the managers of God's domain furious. Senior, what do you think? I have written down all the flower and food styles you like in my diary. I guarantee it will satisfy you, Senior. Flora's eyes sparkled as she imagined traveling together with Yunxi, happily exploring different places. This kind of future is nice, very nice indeed. Why were we so bound by complicated conditions in the past that we couldn't even imagine what to do after getting a lover? It was only after meeting the senior that various thoughts suddenly surged out of nowhere. After breaking through her own barriers, she realized that there were so many things she could do after falling in love, so many fun things waiting for her. She has been to all those places, and the delicious food is also recorded in her diary. However, traveling alone and tasting those foods is completely different from enjoying them with two people. Traveling alone is called a lonely food journey. Two people are the passionate and sweet moments of love. Why are you asking me about this? I'm just a temporary teacher for the love course. I won't really go eat with you. Yunxi is on the verge of collapse, but the situation is not over yet. The third-ranked legend, Cyber Elf Alpha from Mechanical God's Domain, also spoke up. I think if I were to have someone I like, someone who makes my heart beat, they must be stronger than me. With a thud, Yunxi had an ominous premonition. There aren't many people stronger than Alpha, Even if you're not in mechanical God's domain, you are a very special deity. Your strength is extraordinary. Flora looked at Cyber Elf Alpha, who had a calm expression, and was somewhat curious. What kind of person is stronger than you? A player in Starry Sky Chess is more skilled than me, their calculation power is higher. Cyber Elf Alpha's response was simple and direct. If we search for this condition in the legends of Endless God's domain, there is only one answer. To be better in chess than you, that means only one person qualifies. Flora had been to the Starry Sky chessboard, but only at a beginner level. Unfortunately, dimensional space magic requires more perception rather than calculation power. She is not renowned in the legend ranks for her calculation power. Most of the great witches in Witch God's domain are like this. Their strength is known for being mysterious and cannot be compared to Cyber Elf Alpha, who excels in the field of science. On the Starry Sky chessboard, only one person has defeated Cyber Elf Alpha, and that is the legendary Starry Sky chess master, A Cloud in the Sky. Yes, only that person meets the qualifications, and whenever I play against him, I always feel strange. Heart beats faster, thinking process breaks, collapse, chaotic. That should be the feeling of love, Cyber Elf Alpha replied seriously. No, that's just you causing a circuit break in the chess game, it's not some feeling of love. Yun Shi, who had some knowledge about the Star Planet Quantum Computer Group, looked at Cyber Elf Alpha with a helpless smile. It's just being obsessed with playing chess, what does that have to do with love? And you still have a serious expression on your face. The Cyber Elf Alpha in his memory wasn't like this, or rather, she was the most intelligent, transcendent being within his understanding. As for why Cyber Elf Alpha couldn't beat him in Starry Sky chess, it probably wasn't because he was stronger than her, but due to their different chess styles. It feels really good, now I seem to understand, that feeling of restlessness, unease, and nervousness because of love. Flora looked at the faceless god who was so close, her eyes focused. Only by truly experiencing love did she realize that it is not just about beautiful things, but also includes other mixed emotions. For example, at this moment, an emotion called jealousy surged in her heart. Chapter 1278, Their Lovers Look, Part 2, Who is feeling jealous? No need to ask, of course it was Flora who easily approached Yun Shi, the Golden Crow Princess, by using her identity as a child. Sister, your hand feels a bit cold. Shall I warm it up for you? Little Golden Crow Princess looked eagerly at Yun Shi with flaming golden-red fingertips. No, it's fine. It's just my nature. Yun Shi, who was inside the faceless god, was sweating profusely. If he burned his hands with the great sun true fire, it would take a lot of effort to recover the Pafu bodies from the brink of destruction. The Golden Crow Princess's light furnace is not the restricted power version that he holds in his hand. It is a world-destroying artifact that can truly burn the sky and boil the sea. Sister, I can't help but feel that you have a very pleasant scent on you, a nostalgic scent. Little Golden Crow Princess held the hand of the faceless god and leaned on it. That tiny body was hanging on the faceless god's hand like a tailless koala, and it seemed very content, not wanting to come down at all. This is how children express their likes, by constantly bothering you. Witnessing this phenomenon, Flora became extremely jealous and almost went crazy. She swore to the source of magic that she had never been so jealous of anyone in her life. Since she started studying magic, she had always been the target of others' jealousy, like a genius being praised by everyone. She could do everything the best, and no magic problem could ever stump her. Even terrifying forbidden spells were only slightly more difficult magic combinations for her. Having a big chest, in the witch god's domain rules, really meant being able to do whatever one wish. But in the current situation, the magnificent breasts seemed to be useless. This wasn't a problem that a witch could solve. It's really lively over there. Watching the turbulent currents at the opposite seat, Ouroboros burped and looked envious. Even children's pretend play can be so spectacular. Ouroboros, why did you take a liking to my disciple? Ouroboros' lover, Cassina the battle god, knew what he looked like because he was her youngest disciple. How should I say it? It's fate, or maybe love at first sight. Ouroboros recalled their first meeting. At first, she thought Cassina's disciple was a woman. It's not surprising though, Because Cassina the battle god's basic genre, the battle god genre, is soft body. After mastering soft body, she would begin training in a solid body. The other disciples Cassina the battle god had were all women, so she naturally had no guard. Cassina the battle god used her tail's essence to forge the seed of the battle god, so it was only natural for her to tease Cassina the battle god's disciple by offering him liquor from her mouth, as a way to regain some interest. Who could have imagined that Cassina the battle god's disciple was male? In her whole life, she had never had any intimate contact with males, or even had the slightest thought about it. That's because males are very dangerous creatures, with their minds full of all sorts of desires, and not at all friendly. Comparatively, it's easier to get along with Hydera, who is of the same species and a fantasy creature like Phoenix, and who is courageous and loyal, just like Cassina the battle god. At that time, it was a big miscalculation. Cassina disciple, who looked cute and smelled nice, suddenly transformed into something completely unexpected. It was like a dark secret that would haunt them forever. Struggling, keep struggling, crying and shouting no, but a big, hot thing forcefully entered. Moreover, for some unknown reason, her snake-like body was surprisingly skilled. Even though she was weak and limp from drinking, she couldn't resist. It was both thrilling and scary. Her whole body felt weak, leaving her at his mercy. Eventually, little by little, she succumbed. Even though she was just a disciple of Cassina, she seemed to be incredibly knowledgeable about snake mating. For Ouroboros, who rarely had contact with males, it felt like cheating, squeezing, rubbing, digging in with expertise. Every place touched by his fingers trembled, shivered, and convulsed, making it impossible to resist. Yes, it was like that. Actually, she was terrible at intimate skin contact, and in the end, it was a complete disaster. The touch was soft and smooth, like a delicate and silky skin. With a sweet voice and misty eyes, she looked shy and filled with the feeling of spring. She seemed half asleep and half drunk, and on top of that, the other person looked like a beautiful young girl. It's no wonder there is no resistance at all. That annoying boy took advantage of him, and he won't be satisfied until he bites him. This kind of little scoundrel deserves to be punished by drinking Ouroboros' special poison wine every day. It's all your fault, Cassina the battle god. Why did you accept male disciples, especially those who are so good at fooling girls? As Ouroboros recalled how she fell into this situation, she had the urge to bite someone. Don't be fooled by her carefree personality. She values her chastity and would never allow physical contact with a male before marriage, as it is considered taboo. The problem is, it seems that she initiated taking advantage of him, not the other way around. It's all Cassina's fault. Why accept disciples who are not only good-looking but also have a pleasant scent and feel so comfortable to lick? She fell for it. I never said I only accept female disciples. It's just that my martial arts training requires a partner with a soft body, shrugged Cassina the battle god, indicating that he is not to blame for this situation. When I see a pretty and nice-smelling girl, I go up and lick her. This is your bad habit, Ouroboros, okay? And is there anything my disciple is dissatisfied with? Don't you get along well with him? Whoa. It's like this. It's true. I just like that taste, like that feeling. I'm hopeless. Ouroboros self-destructed, with a face that said, I'm just irredeemable. If you're so obsessed, why are you complaining? Eat more, recover your fortune-telling ability. I'm still waiting for you to tell me someone's future. Cassina the battle god knocked on Ouroboros's head, reminding her why she came here. I know. I'll drink. With a righteous expression, Ouroboros continued to indulge in alcohol. Before long, her nightgown was a mess, perfectly displaying the spirit of a wasted snake. Actually, Cassina, you also really like this disciple of yours, don't you? But he's not mature enough yet. I look forward to him growing up. Well, there's plenty of time. It's just hard to find the right person. Cassina the battle god smiled gently, looking incredibly beautiful. Chapter 1279. The last participant. Wait, it wasn't me, I didn't do that kind of thing. Ouroboros and Cassina the battle god had a conversation with no secrets. Even Yun Shi, with just a little thought, would know who the supposed smallest disciple of Cassina the battle god is. When did he do all these things to Ouroboros? It wasn't just being drunk and getting tangled up together for a while, only to be killed by Hua afterward, right? It sounds as though he completely devoured Ouroboros, but he didn't really go that far. He just reacted instinctively with his body. Those actions, only when he was with the Lamia brides in the water god's world. It seems like things have gotten a bit messy. His hazy memories gradually became clearer. If it weren't for the disguise of the faceless god, Yunshi's blushing face would have been exposed already. By the way, has the last participant been decided yet? Ouroboros, already heavily intoxicated, looked up at the silent sky. On the Red Heart Queen's masquerades list of the legend ranked, there was a Red Heart Queen's blood wine with a resurrection effect, which even caught the attention of the Great Witch Flora, Cassina the battle god, and Cyber Elf Alpha, all of whom are highly ranked legendary delicacies. Even the strongest of the legend ranked should find it difficult to resist this temptation, but since a while ago, there hasn't been any sign of the maple leaf door opening. It's a bit strange, the ball should have started a long time ago. Cassina the battle god also had similar doubts. The invitations to the Red Heart Queen's masquerade are randomly distributed, but there have always been plenty of legend-ranked guests willing to attend. This ball is for 7 people, and 6 participants have already taken their places, leaving only the last seat undecided. Who will be the final guest? Buzz. 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 Among the gaze of everyone's attention, the door finally appeared in the sky again. Just this time, the opened door was completely different from the previous times. 2 different glows fiercely intertwined around the door, exploding and making the maple-colored door very unstable. Oh! Ouroboros dropped the wine glass in his hand, staring in shock at the difficult-to-open door. How could it be? Cassina the battle god furrowed his brow, seeming somewhat troubled. Drip. Confirming the plural responses of the legend-ranked, searching for matching features. Cyber Elf Alpha's eyes were filled with countless data streams, quickly building relevant data models. In Endless Gods Domain's known legend-ranked database, there happened to be 2 individuals whose presence matched the leaking aura from the maple door. Pafu. 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 Inside the faceless god, Pafu, who was inside Yunshi's precious jade, jumped out and shouted excitedly. No way. Yunshi held his forehead, thinking that it was surprising enough that Ouroboros and Cassina the battle god came, but how did this person end up here? Was she also invited by the Red Heart Queen? This smell. I've smelled it before. It was beside my mother. The Golden Crow Princess, who held onto Yunshi's hand tightly, had a keen sense of smell and immediately recognized the familiar scent. Even the Red Heart Queen, the ruler from the nightmare world who hosted the ball, stopped her spinning dance and looked up at the maple leaf doorway that seemed like it could break apart at any moment. There was a hint of regained clarity in her intoxicated eyes. The person on the other side of the door was someone she knew. They were both part of the Abyss faction, but also had some element of order, making it a very contradictory existence. However, she was not the only one. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A large amount of green spores fell from the sky through the partially open maple leaf gate, releasing a strange and eerie aura that seemed to distort the entire world. Cassina. Ouroboros quickly ran behind Cassina the battle god without hesitation. This guy was not to be messed with. You always seem to stir up trouble. Cassina the battle god shook his head, raised his hand high, and then slammed it down. Like a tidal wave flipping over, a surge of air shot into the sky, turning all those strange green spores into powder and blowing them to the edge of the world. Flora saw the reflection of Great Crow in her eyes as 3 consecutive space blades struck the shaky gate. This was the Dusk Witch's intuition. The last guest was not friendly, unlike any other guests, a highly dangerous opponent. Quantum flow, converge. Cyber Elf Alpha's fingertips danced with massive streams of data, converting most of the spores in the sky into virtual data, then converging them, ready to thoroughly study these strange creatures. Annoying thing, go away, the Golden Crow Princess waved her little wings and instantly a pillar of fire, connecting heaven and earth, exploded, burning all the spores that had escaped the net into nothingness. Yunshi said, looking like he didn't need to intervene. And upon seeing these green spores, he finally confirmed who the last participant of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade was. The green spores that could instantly destroy a world, if they landed on the ground, would transform the entire ecological structure of the world, leading to a catastrophic end of the world. Among all the legendary figures he knew, there was only one with such characteristics, and with Pafu, who was extremely excited at the moment, it meant she hadn't escaped. However, it seemed that on the other side of that door, there were not just one, but two different legendary powers colliding fiercely. These green spores were only leaked from the aftermath of the battle. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The maple leaf gate that had been continuously slashed 3 times by the Great Witch Flora began to show signs of breakage. The storm in the void started to spread, as if it was about to completely sever the passage to the Red Heart Queen. Coordinates locked. Inside the faceless god, Pafu emitted a translucent green light, then a beam of green radiance descended from the broken maple leaf gate. With disheveled green hair, skin almost as white as snow, and the iconic small round mask, it was precisely the person Yoon she knew. Above the mask, a pair of triangles depicting a cute slime pattern were sparkling, as if summoning something. In the center of the round mask's forehead, the soft and adorable slime pattern displayed certain coordinates. Pafu. Pafu. Pafu inside the faceless god was delighted for a moment but ultimately didn't respond to the summoning, instead continuing to stay by Yoon-shi's side. Crash. Crash. Behind the girl, strands of green hair, each with its own life, twisted uneasily. Most of the red boughs tied to them were broken, and they still carried a terrifying sword aura. Chapter 1280. Pafu's Rejection. Shaya Longness. The Sky Sword was the first legend-ranked opponent that Yoon-shi had ever faced. She was the child of God from the Slime tribe. In the Sky Sword God's domain, the newest generation of the Sky Sword. Yoon-shi would never forget the terrifying power she unleashed in the Water God's world, causing countless green spores to fall and nearly destroying the entire world. It was also the first time Yoon-shi faced a threat from a legend-ranked opponent, experiencing the power that surpassed even hero-ranked fields and could easily destroy the world. One could say that Shaya Longness was Yoon-shi's mentor at the legend-ranked, the one who introduced him to the concept at the highest level of the Endless God's domain. Strange, why did the coordinates disappear again? Shaya Longness, who had hurriedly escaped to the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, looked around with a puzzled expression. She was supposed to arrive at this venue earlier. She received the invitation letter even earlier than Cassina the battle god and Ouroboros. Her turn to appear should be the 3rd or 4th. The problem was that the timing of her accepting the invitation was a bit unfortunate. She was on the way of being chased by someone, and the door to this venue that was already open couldn't be entered. Her opponent was extraordinary, having been chasing her since a certain incident. The battle had been going on for over a month, and it seemed like it would continue. Just when she was about to give up, watching the door disappear, a turning point appeared. In a fleeting moment, because of Great Witch Flora's 3 consecutive space blades, she smelled a hint of her own essence in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade venue. It was a split she voluntarily created, a splitting body used to invade Water God's world, a unique slime with powerful assimilation and mutation abilities. In the final battle of Water God's world, she retrieved this special slime. However, due to Cassina the battle god's divine skill, the magnificence of Skydance, this special slime was scattered and left in Water God's world. After that, there was no news about this split body. She thought it was assimilated by Hydera the water god. But unexpectedly, at a critical moment, she felt the presence of this split body that had been separated from her own body. Using this split body as a reference, she captured the correct location of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, escaped from the enemy's pursuit, and entered smoothly. However, the special slime that split from her body also disappeared, no longer responding to her command to return. It seems that this special splitting body now has its own consciousness and soul, and no longer wants to return to become a part of her body, completely merging life with her. Who is it? Shaya Longness's eyes swept over each of the 7 people here, all of whom seemed suspicious. The organizer of Red Heart Queen's masquerade, the queen from the nightmare world. In a sense, the two are part of the same camp, But the evil god camp is known for not getting along, occasionally cooperating, but often acting recklessly and arbitrarily. The faceless god, a strange and ancient spirit. The legend ranked that leaves no impression, possibly even older than the twilight of the gods. How could such an antique join the Red Heart Queen's party? The little golden crow princess, a fantasy creature I've never seen before. Carrying a formidable power of creation, undoubtedly a living being protected by the Eastern god's domain, the Queen Mother. Even she doesn't want to provoke this trouble. The famous and powerful Dusk Witch, Great Witch Flora. Endless god's domain, the most skilled magic user, often smuggles terrifying forbidden items. They belong to a neutral faction in the midst of chaos and interact with both the good and evil factions. Cyber Elf Alpha, a new and rising deity in the mechanical god's domain. Cyber Elf emerged in the Starry Sky chessboard, defeating almost all known legendary chess players. She is known as the strongest new generation deity in the Starry Sky chess. If it wasn't for the presence of a cloud in the sky, the Starry Sky chess master, she would already be the strongest legend in Starry Sky chess. Finally, we have the opposing faction. Ouroboros, the close ally of Hydera the water god, her archenemy. In terms of combat ability, she is completely insignificant, except for being a gigantic waste. She is an incredibly weak fantasy creature who can be defeated by 10 others. Even the Golden Crow Princess, who is still just a child, is much stronger than her. Cassina the battle god, a truly terrifying enemy. Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament is a legendary undefeated battle. Cassina the Sky Sword is hailed as the strongest sky sword under the god-slaying Sky Sword, and she is known to be the strongest active sky sword. In the world of the water god, it was her actions that caused her plan to invade the water god's world to fail. In the end, it allowed Hydera the water god to successfully complete the final step of becoming a true god of the water world. Overall, there was one person on the same team as Abyss Sovereign Ada. For individuals from neutral and unknown teams, a silver-white ancient god, a young princess of a fantasy species, Great Witch Flora, and Cyber Elf Alpha. 2 individuals from the opposing team, Ouroboros and Cassina the battle god. Whose body did the slime, which evolved from her split body, end up on? Return and reunite. Shaya Longness snapped her fingers, giving the order once again. This command could not be disobeyed by any slime because Shaya Longness, who gave the order, was the child of God and the future sole deity of the entire slime clan. Pafu. Pafu. Hiding inside the precious jade in Yunshi's chest, Pafu let out an excited but proud voice. Pafu, who originated from a part of the sky sword Shaya Longness the slime's torso, has now embarked on a completely different path from other slimes. Becoming Yunshi's pet, Pafu, who has fused with some of the flesh of the star-hunting dragon Mew Mew Narable, has become accustomed to being Yunshi's assistant and is also evolving towards a higher form of life. Pafu holds deep respect for its original form, Shaya Longness the Sky Sword, almost like a mother figure, and if Shaya Longness is in danger, it will help. However, the idea of returning to the body of Shaya Longness the Sky Sword and merging as one will never happen. Similar to a child leaving its mother's embrace and embarking on its own journey in life, Pafu will never return to its mother's body. This goes against the nature of the slime race, but Pafu can no longer be considered a regular slime. Having received the power of the stars and possessing the power of the dragon jewel, Pafu has transcended the limitations of the slime race, and its species value has risen to an unimaginable level. The command for the return of Shaya Longness the Sky Sword is destined to fail. Why, refuse my command? Shaya Longness puzzled, as Endless God's domain had a disobedient slime, and not just any slime, but a slime that had separated from her own body. Chapter 1281. The Pursuer No Response. This was really surprising to Shaya Longness. If it wasn't for her actually escaping from the enemy's pursuit through the connection coordinates between herself and her split body, she might have thought it was just her imagination. In this world, there would still be slimes that don't listen to her commands, and they even split directly from her body. To split this special slime and carry out a secret infiltration plan into the world of Hydera the water god, she had put in a lot of effort, and the split part was still a very precious body position. The 7 dancers for the ball have all arrived. Senior, Please be prepared. Flora sat by Yunshi's side, waiting for Red Heart Queen Ada to announce the start of the ball. Each edition of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade has a limited number of participants, and now there are 7 seats at this long table, representing the 7 guests of this ball. Faceless God, Great Witch Flora, Ouroboros, Cassina the Battle God, the Golden Crow Princess, Cyber Elf Alpha, and the Slime Shaya Longness the Sky Sword. The 7 guests have already arrived, and thus Nightmare Sovereign's ball will officially begin. This is my first time joining this dance party. Is there anything I should pay special attention to? Yunshi had no knowledge of the legend ranked, and he didn't even know what rewards the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade had. What you should pay special attention to is the upcoming challenges. Each challenge is different, but there are mostly common elements. Every Red Heart Queen's Masquerade has a theme. Flora educated Yunshi about the general knowledge of the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade. This is a real secret, known only by a very small number of people who have participated in the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade and survived. However, she was a bit confused as to why the party had not officially begun. Clearly, all 7 people had already arrived. In the middle of the party, the queen wearing a red dress slowly lifted her head, gazing at the broken sky. There, a deep red maple leaf door, which should have completely disappeared long ago, was glowing. It was already half broken, and even hit 3 times by the Great Witch Flora's spaceblade, so this door should have completely vanished. The problem was, the almost shattered door didn't disappear, but continued to stay there. Oh no! Shaya Longness quickly realized something and acted swiftly. Likewise, Flora also had a bad feeling as 3 black spaceblades were launched one after another. A large number of green spores and dark spaceblades simultaneously hit the maple leaf door that should have long been destroyed, almost turning it into particles of light. Then, the next second, a silver-blue sword light broke through the door, tearing apart the fabric of space and time. Are they even following us here? Shaya Longness wore a very distressed expression. There aren't many people in this world who can give the Slime Sky Sword a headache, but this person was definitely one of the toughest. SSS. Without any chance to escape, Shaya Longness's body was instantly pierced through by the silver-blue sword light, pinning her to her seat. It was a sword of deep blue color, with a cold silver-white blade. The ratio of the hilt to the blade was somewhat strange, with the hilt alone measuring over half a meter in length. The central area where the hilt and the blade connected had a round compass, with a gigantic keyhole in the center, seemingly sealing an unknown entity. Shaya Longness, the Sky Sword of the new generation in Sky Sword God's domain, had her body pierced by such a sword and firmly pinned to the ground. A lot of shiny chains appeared around the azure Excalibur, locking Shaya Longness tightly. Shaya Longness's braids started to split apart, struggling against the silver chains around them. Both sides were evenly matched, with some chains getting crushed and several braids being pulled off. This was a showdown between 2 legend-ranked individuals, and this kind of battle had been going on for over a month. The result of the battle was clear from their stances. Shaya Longness was the one being chased, forced to run away. Shaya Longness guilty. A figure, who had haunted Yunshi's dreams on countless nights, slowly emerged from the broken maple leaf door. They stared at the punished Shaya Longness with eyes as cold as if they were looking at something filthy. You chased me for so long just because I took a bit of your hair and materials. Isn't that a bit excessive? Shaya Longness, who was nailed to the ground, suddenly split into 4 gelatinous blobs, resembling jelly. After bouncing a couple of times, the 4 green jelly blobs gathered together. With the gel blob wearing a small round mask as the core, Shaya Longness's body was reconstructed once again. The natural talent of the slime clan appeared, infinite splitting. Yunshi looked at this familiar skill, confirming once again that this was indeed the slime known as Shaya Longness the Sky Sword. Similarly, the identity of the last person to break into the Red Heart Queen's venue through the Maple Leaf Gate was confirmed. The oldest Sky Sword in the Sky Sword God's domain, the guardian of the Sky Tower, the Azure Sword user Lilibet the guarding Sky Sword. From a long, long time ago, even before meeting Hua Hua, she would always appear in Yunshi's dreams. At that time, Yunshi didn't know her name or the mission she carried. Again and again, he saw the figure of the girl in his dreams. She stood on a golden beach, with a door connecting the sky and the earth behind her. 3 strands of ice-blue hair stood in front of her forehead, long braids hanging behind her, sleeves adorned with steel-blue gems, and sword-shaped ribbons hanging from the hem of her skirt, always looking coldly at her. The azure sword in front of her emitted a daunting aura, and whenever a shadow-like object approached, she would draw the sword and eliminate any unwelcome guests. "You've killed me dozens of times already, so you shouldn't have so much free time to bother me. Lilibet, is your guardian not working anymore?" Shaya Longness, who has the ability to revive as a slime, was feeling very bad. Even though she can split and come back to life, getting killed still hurts. If it was any creature below the legend ranked, they would have died a long time ago. When you get killed, you die, but this is just one of the truths of the world. It doesn't apply much to creatures below the legend ranked. Give back what you stole. Holding her blue divine sword, Shaya Longness swung it down again, cutting the slime sky sword, which had just transformed back into its humanoid form, into 16 pieces. Shaya Longness, who had split into 16 pieces, merged back together, transforming into 4 little girls who looked around 7 or 8 years old. Chapter 1282. Everyone gathered. Shaya Longness, who had split into 4, stared straight at Lilibet, who had been chasing her. Although they were both sky swords, Shaya Longness, who hadn't officially become the guardian of the Sky Tower for as long as Lilibet, was slightly weaker. However, she still had some ability to fight back. The reason she had fallen to the point of having to escape was because she had used the Sky Sword for something else, preparing the body for her only daughter, White Moon. The puppet makers in Doll City were boasting about their skills, but when it came to actually doing something, they were all useless. They wasted countless moonlight branches and precious materials, and couldn't even complete one hand of White Moon. This made Shaya Longness so angry that she almost wanted to go on a killing spree in Doll City. In the incredible world where White Moon was created, the prince who made her body was much better than those puppet makers. Unfortunately, even Shaya Longness couldn't find any trace of that mysterious world. It felt like a beautiful but unreal dream, and White Moon was the precious treasure born from that dream. With no other choice, Shaya Longness, as a mother, risked her own sky sword and housed White Moon inside it to maintain her existence. At the same time, Shaya Longness personally traversed Endless God's domain to find the materials needed to create White Moon's body. According to some sources, she targeted Lilibet and successfully obtained a part of their hair and some rare materials from the Sky Tower treasury while they were off guard. The result? She has been hunted by Lilibet for over a month now and has been killed over 40 times. This is because she is a child of God from the slime tribe and has the natural talent of regeneration, allowing her to come back to life even after dying so many times. In the legend ranking of Endless God's domain, Shaya Longness, who has the protection of the slime tribe, may not be the strongest, but she is definitely the hardest to kill. Most gods are limited to certain regions called God's domain. The gods who can gather faith from more than 10 gods' domains are considered the highest-ranking gods. The Slime Clan, who believes in Shaya Longness and is willing to sacrifice their lives for her without any complaint, can be found all over the Endless God's domain. There are even a lot of slime clans in the Unknown Star domain beyond the Endless God's domain. In theory, as long as there is one slime alive, Shaya Longness can keep resurrecting. Lilibet killed Shaya Longness 40 times, only consuming a small portion of Shaya Longness's life points. This number will soon be replenished by the newly born slimes who are striving to breed and grow. The problem is, being killed continuously is a huge blow to Shaya Longness's spirit. Although her life points decrease only a little, the exhaustion and torment caused by consecutive deaths will not disappear, even for someone of the legend ranked. Even the high and mighty gods, when their physical bodies are killed, often take hundreds of years to resurrect. The more times a god is killed, the longer the revival time becomes. Many ancient gods who fell during the Twilight War of the Gods were almost sentenced to semi-permanent death due to the special mechanism of that war. They even had their divine concepts taken over by the new generation of gods, almost truly extinct. So, at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, only the legendary Red Heart Queen's blood wine, which has the power to revive, can make even the legend-ranked feel a flutter in their heart. Hand it over, the things you stole. As the Order Guardian of Sky Sword God's domain, the gatekeeper of the Sky Tower, Lilibet rarely leaves the Sky Tower. However, this time is an exception. Lilibet, who has always been guarding the Sky Tower, has been actively hunting Shaya Longness for over a month, while the task of guarding the Sky Tower has been entrusted to a certain fantasy species from Kunlun God's domain. This also means that what Shaya Longness stole from the Sky Tower and Lilibet is so important that Lilibet must continuously pursue her. No. What I have obtained is mine. Even if you kill me 100 times, I will never give it to you, Shaya Longness firmly replied. The things she stole from Lilibet are the materials needed to create a perfect puppet body for her beloved daughter, White Moon. For this, she is willing to commit a great sin and even provoke the ancient guardian of the Sky Tower. For the sake of White Moon, whom she loves recklessly, there is nothing she wouldn't do. This is the great love that a mother has for her daughter, persistent and without regrets. So kill you 1,000 times, Lilibet raised Azure Excalibur in her hand again. This ice-blue great sword has the power of divine punishment. Even if the Sky Sword is struck, it will feel immense pain and the force of judgment. Only the Sky Sword, a unique oddity born from the slime clan like Shaya Longness, can be chopped by the divine punishment sword dozens of times and still bounce around. The vitality of the slime clan is so unreasonable. But Lilibet's obsession with hunting is equally unreasonable. No matter where Shaya Longness escapes, she will always come after her to retrieve what Shaya Longness stole. Ada, this is your territory, right? Make her quiet. Shaya Longness's 4 split bodies came together again, returning to Yunshi's familiar appearance. Without the Sky Sword in her hand, she is no match for Lilibet, the guardian of the Sky Tower. She can only summon the Red Heart Queen from the same faction to take action now. Just as Shaya Longness expected, the host of the ball appeared. The rule of the ball is that direct fighting is not allowed, said Red Heart Queen, gracefully dancing in front of Lilibet. Ding, came a crisp sword sound from Azure Excalibur's keyhole, indicating that Lilibet's opponent was trouble. When will this ball end? Lilibet stared at Shaya Longness, who was seated, and spoke without expression. It might end soon, or it might be delayed. Only women chosen by fate can participate in this ball. You coming here is also the favor of destiny, said Red Heart Queen, intoxicated gaze fixed on the cold Lilibet. Regardless of race or background, Red Heart Queen's ball is only open to those who possess a destiny star. People who were forcibly pulled into the ball. You need to choose people to invite for the dance party. People who come without being invited. For this dance party, these guests have been chosen to perform at the party. The Great Will of Nightmares is watching this place. Chapter 1283. The opening of the dance party. The last participant arrives and there is an extra chair at the dinner table, which originally had only 7 seats. The 8 guests attending the Red Heart Queen's masquerade clearly divide into 2 sides. On the left side is the group of the love lesson. Faceless Godyun 11 Great, which Flora the Golden Crow Princess Cyber Elf Alpha. On the right side, there are 2 drinking buddies and 2 groups chasing each other. Ouroboros Casina the Battle God Shaya Longness Lilibet. The organizer of the dance, the queen from Nightmare World, sat on the main seat and shook a snow-white little hand, ringing a bell. Boom, boom, boom. More magical fireworks soared into the sky, blooming with endless brilliance. The dance has begun. The princes and princesses take their places, and the great queen is about to unveil the veil of destiny. Praise the great nightmare, the 12th Red Heart Queen's masquerade is now open. Who will laugh in the end? Who will become the winner? Stay tuned. The soldiers of the teacups were getting more and more excited, the procession held their heads high, and the bands played exciting music. Theme of this dance is matchmaking. To please the great queen, show off your charm, princes and princesses. Prince. Flora looked around with some confusion, wondering where the prince could be found here. The Red Heart Queen's ball has never sent invitations to the opposite sex. Throughout the history of attending the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, all guests have been female deities, fantasy creatures, and even dark gods. Yunshi nervously glanced at the sacred unicorn kneeling behind him. He was not a Prince Charming at all, just like this sacred unicorn was not a white horse. What is a blind date? Yunshi quickly changed the topic and asked the only person who had attended the Red Heart Queen's masquerade multiple times, the Great Witch Flora. Well, each edition of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade has a corresponding theme. The ones I have attended had themes like love, forbidden, and betrayal. Great Witch Flora reminisced about themes of the dances she had won, still full of confidence in herself. After all, no matter theme of the dance, there is always a central element. What the Red Heart Queen desires and expects, the wonderful thing called love. Yes, the Red Heart Queen's dance is essentially a stage to showcase love, and Great Witch Flora has an outstanding talent for this theme. Having a large bosom can truly make one feel unrestricted. Now, it's time for the performance. Amidst cheers from the soldiers of the teacup, Red Heart Queen drank from her cup of wine and, satisfied, snapped her fingers. Senior, get ready, it's time for the battle. Flora took a deep breath and fixed her appearance. Next, there was a battlefield. Even the god-slaying Sky Sword had once retreated, helpless on the stage. The Queen's most favorite little game, begin. The 12th challenge, a stage of utmost charm for elegant ladies, guests from different worlds, show off your style to your heart's content. Nightmares are watching, and only the most outstanding performers can earn the favor of delicious food and the light of destiny. Yunshi's face turned dark. What kind of rule was this? Is the will of Nightmare World so boring? Yes, this is an important condition to win at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, to showcase your feminine charm. Senior, we are now being watched by more than one Nightmare Sovereign. The scores they ultimately give will determine the final rewards of the ball, Flora reminded Yunshi, emphasizing not to underestimate this seemingly simple game rule. Showcasing the charm of a lady. Yunshi was on the verge of collapse. Where would he find the charm of a lady to showcase? He was a genuine gentleman, for goodness sake. What? Is this kind of rule, not the intense battle like the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament? Ouroboros was also shocked. This rule was really disadvantageous for their team. So that's the rule. No wonder those guys lost miserably. Cassina the Battle God pondered. She knew several high-ranking legends who participated in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade and became weak afterwards. They originally participated in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade for the rare legend-ranked delicacies, but when they returned, they were all disoriented and none of them participated in their beloved Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament again. It seemed like they had suffered a serious blow. No problem, even if it's a competition of women's charm, I won't lose. Unlike the completely useless Ouroboros beside her, Cassina the Battle God had confidence in both her feminine charm and personal strength. As a part-time dancer all year round, she was truly a popular person, and had captivated countless innocent young men. Wow, the elder sisters are really impressive on the dance floor. The Golden Crow Princess held hands with the faceless god, curiously watching the rapidly forming stage. Senior, you need to pay attention. This performance that showcases charm is very important. Generally, scoring above 60 points ensures a victory. Flora continued to explain the rules of this challenge to Yunshi. Although they couldn't see or feel it, there were indeed more than one Nightmare Sovereigns gazing at this place, responsible for giving scores to the performers. Since these monarchs didn't directly participate in the ball, Flora didn't know who judged their scores every time. Based on her experience in past Red Heart Queen's masquerades, there were approximately 10 monarchs watching here. And she was the participant with the highest score in all the past Red Heart Queen's masquerades. By the way, there was once a god-slaying Sky Sword who received a score of 0, not just once but 3 times in a row. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, he flipped the table, grabbed the gift, and ran away. Chmph. You're in for some bad luck, Lilibet. As soon as Shaya Longness heard this rule, she knew her chance had come. Someone like Lilibet the guarding Sky Sword, who was never easygoing and always hunting down and annihilating enemies, had no idea what charm a woman could possess in this lifetime. Compared to her, Shaya Longness had an advantage because she was someone who had a daughter. She was the slime Sky Sword who had completely enchanted that whatever prince's soul. Lilibet absent-mindedly drank the red tea in front of him and continued to stare at Shaya Longness. His gaze was one that would never give up. However, she didn't notice that someone on the other side of the dining table was secretly watching her, with an expression filled with nostalgia and excitement. We meet again, Lilibet. Today, you are as majestic and unapproachable as you were in my dreams. Those 3 clusters of ice-blue hair are still so firm, just like your eyes. Chapter 1284, Yoonshi's dream lover Lilibet Elizabeth. Even the name Yoonshi only learned recently, he always thought she was just a perfect outline in his dreams, representing his reflection of the perfect dream of a woman. No matter when, steadfastly guarding something important. Whether it's 1,000 years or 10,000 years, it will never change. Every time he sees her figure, he will blend into the group of shadows, rushing towards her like a moth to a flame, just wanting to say a word to her. Unfortunately, this wish has never been fulfilled. In a similar shadowy state, he can't even get close to her or make his voice heard. In his dreams, he can't do anything or say anything, only repeating the same cycle over and over again. Appearing in a certain area in front of the Golden Beach, then involuntarily moving towards the Golden Beach, as if the gateway connecting heaven and earth behind the Golden Beach has some irresistible allure for him. Then, she was slain by her. The icy blue divine sword will never let any shadow that tries to approach the Golden Beach escape. It completely cuts off the filthy things she calls wandering souls. Even the term wandering souls was learned by Yoonshi from her. It seems to specifically refer to those irrational, chaotic shadows that wander outside the Golden Beach with him. Despite being killed over and over again, Yoonshi bears no grudge. His longing for the beautiful god's domain only grows stronger. Unconsciously, she becomes more and more special in his heart. Her majestic figure makes the young Yoonshi fall in love. Even though he knows it's just a dream, a fantasy existence like a castle in the air or a moon in the water, Yoonshi becomes infatuated with her and subconsciously starts looking for similar girls. Perhaps, it tastes like first love, youthful and captivating. Every time he wakes up from the dream, Yoonshi forgets what she looks like. The pain of being killed in the Golden Beach also disappears, as if everything was just an illusionary dream. It's only when he returns to the dream again that Yoonshi remembers seeing her here and the fact that she killed him. If every time entering a dream is a new and brief life, then every encounter with Lilibet is a magical and thrilling first love that happens every time. Starting from the first time Yoonshi dreamed about the Golden Beach and the doorway connecting heaven and earth, he has had countless dreamy first loves with Lilibet, each time he was killed. This extraordinary dream gradually disappeared when the light of the stars fell and he inherited the fate of Starchild. It wasn't until he obtained the title of Teacher Cassina the battle god in the real world, and truly went to the Sky Tower where the guardian of the Sky Tower, Lilibet the Azure Excalibur, had been guarding for millions of years, that he truly realized that all of it was not a dream, but a past event. Stepping on the Golden Beach that had witnessed countless deaths, seeing her continue to slay the approaching wandering spirits, Yoonshi felt like he had traveled through time. It turns out that all of this actually happened. Lilibet would not know that among the wandering spirits she had slain, there was once a peculiar one, someone who didn't know where they came from or why they were here, but their shadow would always draw closer to her. Other wandering spirits instinctively wanted to cross the Golden Beach and invade the gateway of the Sky Tower. But this shadow called Yoonshi was an exception. His reason for moving forward was not the door, but the person in front of the door. Every time he saw her figure, his heart would become warm, even if he didn't care about his own fate in the next moment. For Yoonshi, this was the best date, the most wonderful dream. As long as he could see her, it didn't matter if this place was hell. Just by gazing at her figure and occasionally hearing her whispered words, he would feel happy. Unlike his childhood sweetheart Hua Hua, she was like an unreal dream lover, too perfect to be true. The moment they met in his dreams was much, much earlier than when he first met Hua Hua. At that time, he was still just a naive child. However, some things seemed to transcend age. When Yoonshi saw her for the first time, he thought she was very, very beautiful. Whether it was her 3 upturned hair tufts, the long braids swaying in the wind behind her, or the giant azure sword she carried, everything was so majestic. Powerful. Confidence. Persistence. Perfection. Before meeting Hua Hua, Yoonshi believed that there was no such perfect woman in the world, she was just a character he imagined in his dreams. After meeting Hua Hua, he discovered that there really is such a perfect genius in the world. So it was natural for him to fall in love with her, because Hua and Lilibet were so similar. And so, Yunshi had two first loves. Lilibet the guarding sky sword, who only existed in the dream world and could only meet in dreams. In the real world, his childhood friend, a super talented girl swordsman who was like the Queen of Summer. In his dreams, he was always killed by Lilibet, but he remained unwaveringly loyal. In the real world, he would forget everything in his dreams when he woke up, and his eyes would only see that charming figure. There is no priority issue. Hua is not just a substitute for Lilibet, they are just incredibly similar. Like the two sides of the world, Hua is the queen under the sun, while Lilibet is the guardian of the other side of the world. Both of them are equally outstanding and have unwavering determination. It is a trait that even time can't erase, and it is the reason why Yunshi became infatuated with them. Even as he grew up and realized it was just admiration for heroes, an unrealistic fantasy from his youth, Yunshi never regretted liking them. If possible, Yunshi would definitely choose the fate of marrying his childhood friend, Hua. Similarly, if given another chance, he would want to tell Lilibet that she used to be the most beautiful girl in his eyes. However, with the awakening of Starchild's identity, none of these futures that seemed impossible could happen. Yunshi never expected to unexpectedly meet his dream lover again on the faraway Red Heart Queen's masquerade, even in the world that is completely different from Sky Sword God's domain. Today, she, just like every day in Yunshi's dreams, was firm and unbeatable. Even her gaze that could chase others made people's hearts flutter. The name Lilibet Elizabeth, gently spoken by her tongue, captivated Yunshi's soul and made his heart race. Chapter 1285. Secret Transaction. Lilibet had no idea that there was a young man nearby who had admired her and saw her as his dream lover. Maybe, even if she knew, it wouldn't change anything. Yunshi and she were people who lived in two different worlds. Lilibet didn't even think about whether there was a special conscious entity among those wandering souls. Her mission was to protect the Sky Tower and eliminate all enemies who invaded it. Even if the Sky Sword, possessing special authority in the Sky Tower, committed a major crime, they had to be hunted down, even if they escaped to the farthest end of Endless God's domain. So, from beginning to end, Lilibet never saw Yunshi's gaze. But Lilibet didn't see it, while others did. Especially the one who put all her heart and soul into the faceless god, imagining him as her beloved great witch. Senior, senior, senior. If gazes could speak, Flora has already shouted countless times. She saw it all, ever since Lilibet appeared at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Senior's eyes never left her. Although still expressionless as usual, she could clearly feel that Senior's gaze was different than before. Unlike the little golden crow princess who acted spoiled towards Senior, Senior's gaze towards Lilibet was that of an adult, a gaze that seemed to be immersed in it. She didn't understand this gaze before, but now she could empathize. Because she looked at her Senior, she saw the reflection of her own expression in her Senior's eyes, just like that. Feeling excited. Feeling joyful. Feeling admiration. The first taste of love. The first understanding of what romance is. Learned from her Senior's lessons on love, what it means to like someone, and what kind of relationship will make oneself happy. So many first experiences, deeply imprinted in her heart, unforgettable. Why did her Senior look at Lilibet with such eyes? Lilibet is a well-known legendary figure in the rank of ancient artifacts, said to have been active on the battlefield during the Twilight War of the Gods as a divine sword wielder. Is the Senior also an ancient deity from that era or an even earlier one? Could it be that they knew Lilibet a long time ago? Yes, that would explain why the ancient Sky Sword, who is so uninteresting and never leaves home, made the Senior show a nostalgic expression. They must have been old friends since the time of the Twilight War of the Gods. No, perhaps even more than friends. Flora felt increasingly sad, and had a very bad feeling. This feeling grew stronger as Yunshi stared at Lilibet for a longer time. No, we can't go on like this. We need to come up with a plan. It seems the Senior hasn't realized yet that they haven't seen Lilibet in a long time. At times like this, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Shaya Longness, do you need any help? Flora whispered to the slime Sky Sword, who had a bit of a headache. Flora, do you have any solutions? I'm so annoyed being chased by this person. They just stole some hair from her and some materials from the warehouse, but is it really necessary to chase me all the way here? Shaya Longness glanced at Flora with surprise in her eyes. She had never traded with the Dusk Witch before, but this great witch who could travel through dimensions was a well-known smuggler in the entire Endless Gods domain. There was nothing she dared not smuggle, whether it be gods or nameless creatures, from heaven to the depths of the abyss. They were all her trading partners. And the goods she chose were all prohibited items that could hardly be sold through regular channels, the black market items that couldn't even make it onto the Starbridge. It seemed that for some goal, this Dusk Witch was always active in various factions, maintaining a principle of chaotic neutrality and having her own exclusive smuggling routes. It would attract the pursuit of Lilibet. Those things must be important to her. I don't understand either. I can't figure out which materials might have broken her taboos. If it was just about the hair, it shouldn't warrant being hunted down like this. Shaya Longness couldn't make sense of the reason why she was being chased. Even though those materials were slightly beyond her authority, as the Sky Sword, she could still obtain them with some time and effort. She had the high privilege to freely enter the Sky Tower. Could it be the hair? Shaya Longness looked at the sky blue tuft on Lilibet's forehead. If it weren't for Lilibet chasing after her, she wouldn't have known that the unique feather accessory she had stolen was actually Lilibet's hair. Why did you weave your hair into the shape of feathers? What a strange quirk. I can help you transport those forbidden items, and I can also take you away. The cost is these. Flora gave a number that seemed quite favorable to Shaya Longness. With this price, smuggling ordinary forbidden items would be considered an astronomically high figure. Buying a small god's domain would not be a problem. But now they had to smuggle these things from under the guardian of the Sky Tower's nose and also take Shaya Longness, who was being chased. So this price was too cheap enough for Shaya Longness to think that Flora had missed a digit. The legendary Dusk Witch smuggling route was known for its high fees, being the top choice in the Endless Gods domain black market. When did it become so generous? You really only want these? Shaya Longness was a little skeptical. Yes, just these, but you have to do one thing. Flora was bleeding heavily this time. Normally, the fee for such a dangerous smuggling would have an extra 0, but this time she was definitely breaking her own business principles. It was because she had something she wanted Shaya Longness to do, a task that only she could accomplish. First, you have to do it like this, and then show like that. No matter what, you must. Okay, this is easy, leave it to me. Shaya Longness straightened her chest and then felt a little frustrated as she realized her bust had shrunk by one size. Oh, I forgot. She separated this part a little, and now that little one that split off can't be found, and I don't know whose body it's on now. Lilibet, don't get too full of yourself. After discussing the deal with Flora and securing their escape route, Shaya Longness regained her confidence. The frustration of being chased by Lilibet and dying over 40 times vanished, as she now stood in an invincible position. Having formed an alliance with Flora, Shaya Longness no longer had to fear being pursued by Lilibet. Chapter 1286, Her Name. Lilibet remained as silent as ever, only staring at Shaya Longness with a deathly cold gaze. That look had almost become Shaya Longness's death sentence in the past month, and being targeted and hunted down by that gaze resulted in the most painful experiences of her life. What a terrible opponent, we're not a good match at all. Shaya Longness never really faced Lilibet before, so she underestimated this ancient sky sword who rarely left the Sky Tower. Even during the time she was punished in Water God's world, she only thought that this ancient sky sword, who protected the order of Sky Sword God's domain, was successful because of Cassina the battle god's influence. If it weren't for Cassina the battle god confusing her mind, she wouldn't have been easily caught by Lilibet. It was only when she stole the treasures from the Sky Tower's treasure vault, and Lilibet started chasing her, that she discovered the truly terrifying aspect of this antique sky sword. Her azure Excalibur could ignore any resistance she put up. No matter what kind of physical or magical immunities she had, that divine sword could completely ignore her defense and tear her apart. Even Cassina the battle god couldn't do such a thing. Cassina the battle god needed to use the divine technique the magnificence of sky dance to seal off a part of her racial traits before being able to effectively attack her. As a child of God favored by slimes, Shaya Longness, who gained knowledge and wisdom by devouring more than one intelligent being, encountered the first sword that completely ignored her racial traits. Apart from the basic talent of splitting, all other talents are ineffective in front of the Azure God Sword, which also caused Shaya Longness, who doesn't have her own sky sword by her side, to have almost no ability to fight back against Lilibet, who holds the sword. Ever since escaping the Sky Tower, she could only repeat one thing: split, get killed, split again. Whenever there was danger, she would escape to where it was dangerous, and whenever there was seclusion, she would escape there. She even had a plan to plunge into the abyss if necessary. If it weren't for the invitation from the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, her plan, which seemed like suicide in the eyes of others, would already be halfway done. Luckily, everything is different now. Though she has paid a price, at least she finally has a way out. Dusk Witch Flora's dimensional shuttle ability is famous throughout the entire Endless Gods domain. She is known as the first user of spatial magic. With the exception of a few Primeval fields, there's nowhere in the Endless Gods domain that she cannot go. It is unknown how long this temporary alliance will last, but for the sake of the lovely white moon, she dared to even steal from the Sky Tower. What else is there that she wouldn't dare to do? Now then, let's begin the random selection, ladies. Are you ready? Only one lady will be the most beautiful at the ball. Step onto your stage and show off your elegance. There are 3 chances in total. The Great Queen and the Will of Nightmares are watching you. Only those who achieve the highest score will be eligible to receive the blessings of delicacies and nightmares. In the first trial, introduce yourself to the person you love and show your charm. This time, a special white horse prince has been selected. Make him the target and conquer his heart. Colorful beams of light fell down, finally converging on someone's head, illuminating their helpless expression. If it weren't for the faceless god's lack of expression, Yunshi would have surrendered. So, this white horse prince that the ball requires means this. Of course, for a ball with theme of blind date, it naturally needs a target. You can't expect the participating ladies to perform to the air. For the princesses, the rule is to show their own beauty to the prince. For the prince, the rule is to answer the princesses, and the invisible judges will decide the scores. Now, the chosen prince and the ladies who have obtained the princess status, get ready. The first round of the stage, begin. Yunshi's figure, along with the happy sacred unicorn, disappeared together on the dining table. Along with him, the sludge Shaya Longness the Sky Sword, who had just challenged Lilibet from across the table, also disappeared. On the unreal stage, the two appeared together, with a quiet and gentle mirror-like lake as the backdrop. This is. Yunshi looked around in surprise. Wasn't this supposed to be the underground realm of the kingdom from his memory, where the young queen of Assyria and the huge foolish spider resided? It was the place where he had encountered the half of the queen of Assyria he married and the girl who had left him with beautiful memories. It seems that what Flora said is true. The nightmare is manifesting in the most vivid parts of my memory. Shaya Longness sat on the enormous foolish spider, wearing thin white clothing without knowing when she had changed into it. Shaya Longness is a complex and ever-changing entity, a combination of the destiny and will of the slime clan. She had once devoured and merged with many intelligent beings, a few of which were important factors in constructing her current conscious self. The Queen of Assyria was one of the most important figures, and she used to sacrifice herself to the abyss as the Blood Moon Queen. At that time, the desperate Queen of Assyria summoned the Blood Moon and bound time to her own moment of death. The Bride of the Blood Moon unleashed carnage, and a certain will from the abyss watched her, accepted her, and merged with her in the end. That night, the whisper of the ancient gods echoed in the ears of the bride wearing a blood-stained wedding gown. Most things in the world are readily understood once you peel back the surface, revealing a dull, unpleasant, and chaotic mess. Crying, clinging to me, pouring out everything to me, you are truly endearing. How can I describe this feeling? Even to this day, I still can't find an answer. After realizing it, I understood that I was a despicable person. Only in your presence do I feel happiness, ignoring all the noise. However, I dislike being eliminated. It's hard to bear not being the most respected existence. After all, I hate losing. So, even if I am greeted with ugly, dirty words, and never look down on others from a high place, I would lose my purpose of existence. I can't treat everyone equally and gently. I can't sincerely pray for the people who are important to me. I think it's a good thing when the people who are important to me feel sad or cry for me. One more thing, it's okay even if you don't like me. Because, I like you so much, I like you to the point where I want to devour you. From today onwards, your name is Shaya Longness. Chapter 1287. Their taste. The Queen of Assyria was a gentle queen who wanted to protect everything and ensure the everlasting continuation of the Assyrian dynasty. Even when she discovered that the priests in the city were doing strange things, she didn't pay much attention to it at first because they were only experimenting with things that magic couldn't achieve, attempting to communicate with great beings outside of the world. The Queen of Assyria, who possessed the gift of witchcraft, actually heard whispers from the abyss earlier than them, but she never responded because that kind of power was not necessary for her. Until the priests, tempted by the abyss, made a big mistake, triggering the night of blood moon. Realizing that her mistake was irreparable, the kind-hearted Queen of Assyria despairingly sacrificed herself, exchanging for the power to kill all the priests and the infected people. Under her leadership, the glory of Assyria reached its peak and ended with her. On the night the blood moon descended, the millennium-old royal city was engulfed in blood and slaughter, and the Queen of Assyria put an end to it all at the cost of her everything. The Queen of Assyria, who sacrificed herself, ultimately lost her name and became a part of Shaya Longness. Because of her witchcraft talent, which could reach the legend ranked, she became the most important personality factor. Shaya Longness became the Sky Sword thanks to the magical talent of the Queen of Assyria, which was a crucial key to her advancement. Shaya Longness, who has the attribute of devouring, is a terrifying creature that constantly grows and evolves. However, once her personality core is built, it will not easily be shaken. That's why she has a song representing her own personality elements. That is Shaya Longness's affirmation of her own existence, a personality that was realized through the fusion with the Queen of Assyria. Shaya Longness is not a gentle woman like the Queen of Assyria, nor does she make the same mistakes. She is a superior being, the child of God, who acts recklessly and has the destiny light and wisdom light of the slime race. Even though she is not very skilled in swordsmanship and is clearly related to the abyss, Shaya Longness still became the recognized new generation of the Sky Sword by the Sky Sword God's domain. Because she has limitless potential and her complex life structure embodies the truth of the world, her Sky Sword represents evolution and transformation. It is a divine sword with infinite possibilities. After assimilating the Queen of Assyria and building her personality, Shaya Longness rarely reminisces about the Assyrian dynasty, until a dream she had not long ago. Just like the lake waters rippling beneath her feet at this moment, Shaya Longness's inner peace is far from what it appears. This place is a very memorable place in her dreams. The Will of Nightmares brings back everything, which means that this place has a special meaning for her. In fact, it is so. Because this is the cradle where White Moon was born. Why is Shaya Longness so obsessed with White Moon? With her ability to split as a slime, she can reproduce by splitting herself as many times as she wants to have offspring. The slime race doesn't need gender at all. As long as they have enough food and resources, they will continue to reproduce through asexual division. It is through this cheating-like splitting ability that the slime race can flourish throughout the entire endless God's domain. Even in the harshest environments of God's domain, they can still reproduce resiliently. However, White Moon is different. She was truly born from Shaya Longness's genetic factor, like a mirror reflecting another side of her soul. In a way, she no longer belonged to the slime family, but became a child of God born from Shaya Longness herself. Her existence was an incredible miracle. At the legend ranked of life, it was almost impossible to have offspring. The stronger the creature, the harder it was to give birth to descendants. This was a limitation in the world's rules, and breaking free from it required a great miracle. Even Shaya Longness, who possessed the fate and wisdom of the entire slime family, had no way to surpass this limitation. Despite her highly unique form of life in the legend ranked, she couldn't even imagine how to conceive offspring. until the white moon appeared. That joy came from the Queen of Assyria and also from the entire slime family. They witnessed the birth of a miracle, a fantastical creature that surpassed the limitations of the world's rules. White moon was crucial for the future of the slime family, the most beautiful treasure in the world for the Queen of Assyria, and a child that embodied miracles for Shaya Longness. For this, they were even willing to make a choice in their dreams that seemed unbelievable when thinking back on it now, with someone. The prince really looks quite similar. Sitting on the giant foolish spider, Shaya Longness recalled everything that happened in the dream world, every little moment she spent with White Moon. She was a lively and curious daughter, with a strong possessiveness, who was both headache-inducing and absolutely adored. Whether it was the Queen of Assyria or the real Shaya Longness, they both adored White Moon. How much did they like him? Well, to make White Moon happy, she even married someone and was together with him to that extent. It's just a coincidence, the scenery here is really beautiful. She looked at Shaya Longness in front of him, involuntarily associating her with a certain figure from his memory. Then, certain memories that made one's blood boil automatically surfaced. White Moon's smooth and tender skin, as smooth and supple as silk. The gentle and delicate body of the Queen of Assyria was soft and smooth to the touch, like newly peeled bamboo shoots in the spring. On the night of their wedding, they were both timid and courageous, spending passionate and intense moments together. In a tender and fragrant moment, her small, white feet wiggled, with her pearl-like toenails stretching out cutely like a seashell. One hand supported his chest, and the other hand held his back, embracing him in between. The feeling was soft and warm, like a delicate jade, making him feel completely relaxed and thrilled. Her face was smooth and warm, her hair was fluffy, her fingers were soft, her body was petite, her legs were slender. She had an innocent and sweet appearance, making her easy to be taken by. When their lips touched, their tongues eagerly moved and the soft sensation kept swirling in their mouths. Although a bit clumsy, the actions started to become more natural and instinctive. His tongue twirled around from one side to the other, responding and seeking with great attention. Chapter 1288, 12 Judges outside the venue of Red Heart Queen's masquerade. There is neither a starry sky nor Sia's world. It is an empty space where even the concept of the real world is blurred. The 12 seats are arranged in a clockwise position in this empty space, responding to the will of nightmares. They are the 12 nightmare sovereigns chosen as judges for this Red Heart Queen's masquerade. The Red Heart Queen's ball is not something that Red Heart Queen Ada can hold on her own. It is more like a mission bestowed upon her by the will of nightmares. Ada is the organizer of the ball, but she cannot decide who to invite. The procession from Nightmare World, the teacup soldiers, and the gourmet chefs are not her personal belongings. Chefs who can create legend-ranked dishes are not something Ada can possess. They are a manifestation of the power of nightmares. It has begun. What kind of performance will we see this time? The participants this time are quite interesting. I can't wait to score these cuties. This time is different. Where did that prince come from? Even the rulers at the peak of Nightmare World were surprised by the White Horse Prince who appeared before the ball started. In the past, there was no such character. The gods and fantasy creatures who climbed onto the Red Heart Queen's masquerade stage, even the evil gods, all had individual performances, and then they were scored by the 12 of them. The kings born from nightmares each have their unique powers, corresponding to different characteristics in the nightmare. Each referee is randomly selected by the will of nightmares. For the kings who spend most of their time in dreams, the Red Heart Queen's ball is one of the few activities that can make them feel interested. Ada, who also serves as the ancient god of the abyss and the ruler of nightmares, embodies the concepts of reality and dream. This makes her a very unique presence among all nightmare sovereigns. Her ball, held every time, attracts the attention of the nightmare sovereigns. Being chosen as the referee for the ball is a duty that no nightmare sovereign would refuse. This time is no exception. The 12 sovereigns of the Will of Nightmares are already fully assembled by the time Great Witch Flora starts to enter the ball. As usual, I'll be the banker. Everyone, start placing your bets. A figure in the empty void started their usual tradition of the annual Red Heart Ball, which brought together all 12 Nightmare Kings. This was a very rare opportunity. I bet 100 leaves that Flora will win. I bet 5 leaves, same as you, that Flora will win. 6 leaves, Flora. Even in the nightmare world, precious god-tier catalysts like the world tree leaves could be used as equivalent exchange items. The strongest contender in all previous Red Heart Queen's masquerades, the Dusk Witch Flora from the domain of the Witch God, instantly became the top favorite. Except for the year when Flora disrupted the rules with the god-slaying Sky Sword, she hasn't lost any Red Heart Queen's masquerades she participated in. At least half of the Nightmare Kings chose to bet on this popular contender. For the lofty Nightmare Kings, this was one of the few gambling events that brought them pleasure. 5 people, which is about half of the people, chose the popular Great Witch Flora. After that, some people started betting on other participants. I bet on Cassina the Battle God. She has the potential to break the game, 200 leaves. I also bet on Cassina the Battle God. I have a feeling that she will astonish everyone, 50 leaves. No one can predict the strength of something like the Sky Sword. I also bet on Cassina the Battle God, 60 leaves. After witnessing the performance of another Sky Sword who escaped from the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns, 3 Nightmare Sovereigns placed their bets on Cassina the Battle God. Well, the bet is not about whether she can win under the rules of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, but whether she will go to any lengths to break the rules, just like a certain predecessor Sky Sword. The Sky Sword from the Sky Sword God's domain is famous for taking a unique and distinctive approach even among the legend ranks in the entire Endless God's domain. The Sky Sword that disrupted the mathematical order of the Endless God's domain, causing countless gods and sages to go crazy, like Yun Hai. The god-slaying Sky Sword, who didn't even give face to the Nightmare Sovereigns and boldly fought his way out. And even Shaya Longness, disguised as a slime, can become an unknown creature called the Sky Sword. The 3 Nightmare Sovereigns are gambling on the Sky Sword's rebellion and disregard for rules. Compared to the other 2 Sky Swords, Cassina the Battle God is clearly much more violent. Cassina the Battle God's unbeatable myth is not made up, but is proven through real battles. In fact, one of the Nightmare Sovereigns here has suffered a great loss at the hands of Cassina the Battle God, which has been mocked by other Nightmare Sovereigns for hundreds of years. After the first and second favorites appeared, the remaining 3 Nightmare Sovereigns also chose their own favored candidates. Lilibet, 100 leaves. The Guardian from the Sky Tower chased Shaya Longness, who was in a sorry state, with the Azure Excalibur. She is even older than the Nightmare Sovereigns here and is known as the oldest Sky Sword. Those who believe in her clearly know about her glorious past victories. Cyber Elf Alpha, 100 leaves. Similarly, Cyber Elf Alpha had 100 leaves. The new generation deity, Cyber Elf, had an overwhelming advantage on the Starry Sky chessboard, defeating all other legend-ranked opponents except the mysterious Starry Sky chess master. Among them, 2 have experienced the terrifying crushing power of Cyber Elf Alpha and were completely defeated. The level of this tournament is really high, so I'll bet on the most unlikely candidate. That princess from the fantasy species, she won't lose, right? The last person among the 12, the ruler himself, also placed a bet. 120 leaves. This was a polite bet. After all, no one believed that the young princess could win on a stage where ladylike charm was showcased. The Nightmare Sovereign, who acted as the banker, smirked and placed all 12 rulers' chips on the twisted scale. Even for the kings of Nightmare World, leaves are a very rare resource, and the games that interest them are few and far between. The Dance of the Red Heart Queen is one of them. So let us wait and see who will be the ultimate winner. Who will receive the most delicious food and the blessings of nightmares. 12 great beings from Nightmare World began to gaze at the now open stage. They were looking forward to seeing the most magnificent performance on this highly qualified dance stage. Chapter 1289, Shaya's Whisper. With all bets on the line, the 12 monarchs from Nightmare World turned their attention to the ongoing stage of ladies, without making any further changes. The Faceless God playing the Prince. The first slime to appear is Shaya Longness the Sky Sword. Both sides are making their debut at the Red Heart Queen's ball, especially the Faceless God playing the role of the Prince, which is the first exception in the history of Red Heart Queen's masquerade. The Nightmare Monarchs are also curious about what kind of performance the guests from the Endless God's domain will present with the prince. They will give scores according to their own hearts. At this stage, their existence is hardly constrained, and it is impossible for anyone to bribe them to cheat. In previous Red Heart Queen's masquerades, the Nightmare Sovereigns have enjoyed the stage with great interest. The scores they give are genuine and there is no cheating. Oh, do you still remember a certain god-slaying sky sword? In that year, her performance as a lady showcased the ability to cut stars with one sword, then 10 stars, and even 100 stars. Each sword strike was more ferocious than the last, with a threat level that even made the Nightmare Sovereigns shiver. However, they all collectively gave this god-slaying sky sword a score of 0. No matter how powerful you are, this is a ball that highlights the elegance of ladies. It is a stage that embodies the charm of women, formed by the will of nightmares. Performances like breaking the Sword of Stars have nothing to do with elegance. From another perspective, this is also a unique stage of Endless God's domain that doesn't judge based on strength. Even the powerful god-slaying sky sword, who can break the rules and snatch gifts, can only end up fleeing in a sorry state. In that Red Heart Queen's masquerade, there were no real winners. The 12 Nightmare Sovereigns are all looking forward to seeing the exceptionally talented participants showcase their ladylike elegance on the renowned stage of Nightmare World. Just a bunch of idle guys with nothing better to do. Click. The enormous and foolish spider moved slowly, step by step, approaching the motionless faceless god. Until now, Yunshi was a fool for not understanding who the real identity of the Queen of Assyria was. Actually, it should have been noticed back then that the young Queen of Assyria had facial features that were about 67% similar to Shaya Longness's, and the puppet White Moon he created had a natural talent for hearing the whispers of ancient gods. So, it was you, Shaya Longness. After realizing how much of an advantage he had gained with the slime sky sword, Yunshi was sweating profusely. In the world of Primitive Dragon, he did things with her and White Moon together, in various ways. Not only normal, but also abnormal, a posture that only 3 people can use. In that web of lies about the world, there were too many memories that made one blush and have a racing heart when recalling them. They were things seen in dreams, but also real events. In the end, Shaya Longness took White Moon away, and her words to him carried a special meaning. Now, Yunshi understands the meaning of those words. It turns out that everything didn't just end like that. It was more like the beginning after the marriage that was like a lie. At times like this, I really don't know what to do. After all, I'm not used to showing my weaknesses to others. Shaya Longness sat on the giant, clumsy spider, looking at the expressionless faceless god with a complicated expression in her eyes. At this moment, Yunshi once again felt a great sense of relief, knowing that he was hidden within the core of the faceless god. If he were to face Shaya Longness with his true identity now, he would definitely be exposed. Because at this very moment, his cheeks were burning hot, making it nearly impossible for him to lift his head. Show your best self, just like expressing love in words, and show your charming qualities. Make Lilibet lose its usual composure. Shaya Longness recited her agreement with Dusk Witch Flora. Yes, what Flora asked for was such a simple matter. Provoking Lilibet was just a side task for her. Flora wanted to make use of her special abilities and achieve high scores on stage to shake Lilibet's determination. Shaya Longness was also puzzled as to why achieving high scores would shake Lilibet's determination. Furthermore, the fundamental problem was that Shaya Longness didn't understand how to express love in words. From childhood to adulthood, the Queen of Assyria had never encountered a suitable romantic prospect. Shaya Longness, as a child of God belonging to the slime race, was even more clueless about it. The only time that comes close to falling in love is right here, in this place where dreams meet the prince and where they finally become engaged and bind their destinies together. What exactly is love? For Shaya Longness, it's still a century-old puzzle. The slime clan, capable of asexual reproduction and continuously splitting itself with enough resources, never had the concept of romantic love. Being able to reproduce and sustain oneself, there is naturally no room for the romantic feelings that arise from the desire to bear offspring. If it weren't for that incredible dream, whether it be the Queen of Assyria or Shaya Longness, love would probably have no place in their lives. Let me ask you something, when you want to propose to someone, what should you do? Sitting on top of a huge, foolish spider, Shaya Longness earnestly asked Yunshi. How would I know about something like that? It's beyond me. Yunshi expressed that it was beyond his abilities. Although, he did once propose to 1,000,000 brides. I have a goal that I long to achieve. Even though I haven't found it yet, I am an eternal concept. As long as the slime clan exists in this world, I will have infinite time to search for him. No matter where he is, whether he is human or some other kind of race, I will definitely find him. Then, I will propose to him. Make him mine, so he will never leave me. Perhaps, I still don't know anything about love. Most things in this world, once you peel back the surface, are plain to see, filled with dull, unpleasant, and chaotic things. After discovering this truth, I understood that I am a despicable person. I won't allow myself to become weak. I hate being eliminated, and it's unbearable if I can't be the most admired existence. After all, I really hate losing. So even if I'm greeted with ugliness, filthiness, and dirtiness, if I don't look down on others from a high place, my existence would lose meaning. I can't treat everyone with equal tenderness. I can't sincerely pray for the people who are important to me. I think it's a good thing when someone important to me feels the same pain and cries for me. For the things I like, I prefer to eat them. Chapter 1290. Things I want to tell him. Even someone like me can be liked by others, something I've never thought about before. After everything happened, I realized that it was a very, very comfortable thing. Being embraced by someone, being loved by someone. Although the time spent together wasn't long, it was all wonderful. I never expected this kind of happiness. That kind of thing was never meant for me. Just like a dream, happy moments are always short, but I gained the most precious thing in the world. For her, I can give up everything. Even if I am killed over and over again, I am willing. I hope that one day, when I meet him again, I can smile. Shaya Longness's eyes were slightly blurry as her snow-white feet softly swayed. Actually, you have already found it now, but that's just a big lie you told the world. Yunshi realized that sometimes lies can have serious consequences. That lie, which deceived the whole world, has actually become reality. At least, Shaya Longness firmly believes that the dream is real, and everything that happened in the dream really happened, even her identity as a princess is genuine. This point is exactly the same as Ouroboros. In the world of Primitive Dragon, Ouroboros' subconsciousness split into 4 parts, creating 4 Zaka. When Ouroboros woke up, she believed that the Zaka were real, and then she actually gave birth to 4 identical Zaka. When lying reaches this extent, things really become messy. Yunshi never imagined that a lie in his dream could interfere with the cause and effect of the real world. The non-existent Zaka appeared in the real world. From Shaya Longness's attitude, it seems that White Moon also went out of the dream world. This is an unexpected development. The lie ended up with this result, and even Yunshi himself finds it hard to believe. So, when you met that person, what is the thing you most wanted to say to him? Imagine, just imagine, suppose that person is right in front of you, what is the thing you most want to tell him? This is definitely a reckless act of self-destruction. However, Yunshi couldn't help it. He really wanted to know the answer. It's very easy. Shaya Longness composed herself and climbed down from the enormous clumsy spider. Hey, marry me, prince. Strange powers radiated from Shaya Longness, causing ripples to spread across the calm lake. It was a whisper from the depths, a mysterious force echoing between heaven and earth. It was a sight that could drive one insane with just a glance, and also a unique charm that Shaya Longness wholeheartedly displayed, belonging to the slime sky sword. She was chosen as an apostle from the abyss. She was the witch queen of a 1,000-year kingdom. She was the hope and beacon of destiny for the slime clan. She was Shaya Longness, the sky sword, an anomaly in the sky sword god's domain, and White Moon's mother. Although marrying a prince from a dream may seem like a fairy tale, no matter how many times it happens again, Shaya Longness will always make the same choice. Because, only in this dream, she gains the most important treasure in the world and experiences emotions she couldn't understand before. Perhaps, even now, she still can't understand what this feeling truly is. But it doesn't matter, she has a very long time to figure out this question, and the final answer to this question has already appeared. I think that prince must be very hard to resist. She looked at Shaya Longness, who seemed determined, and sighed. All right, another det added, why did things from the dream escalate to this situation? The reason why Starchild from the previous life was chased by 4 ex-girlfriends seems to be somewhat understandable now. Since there are ex-girlfriends, it means that the Starchild at that time had a current girlfriend too. Who could that be? Yes, that's right. I won't give him a chance to refuse. White Moon is still waiting for him. Shaya Longness grabbed the hand of the faceless god very cooperatively. It felt cold, like metal, but it didn't feel bad. With a gentle kiss, symbolizing the end of Act 1 of the ladies' stage, Shaya Longness nodded and mounted the huge clumsy spider, exiting together with the blood moon. On the stage, only the seemingly expressionless faceless god and She remained, but inside, they both had a look of annoyance. In the void, applause rang out from the 12 towering nightmare sovereigns. Very good. Black horse, black horse. Wow, I really underestimated this slime sky sword. She can express her emotions so well, as if she's actually proposing to the prince. I understand. That brave girl's feelings are so amazing, she's a truly fantastic lady. Most of the 12 nightmare sovereigns in the void applauded Shaya Longness's performance when she made her first appearance. Maybe her expressions are a bit awkward, with a hint of hesitation, but her heartfelt words really add points, a lot of point. The prince chosen this time is not bad, even though he looks a bit stern, his eyes are very kind. Yes, we must continue this tradition at the next ball, selecting a prince as a reference for all the princesses. That sacred unicorn is also good. Let's spare him this time and not turn it into a bloodbath for unicorns. Alright, let's begin scoring. 7 points. 6 points. 7 points. 7 points. 6 points. The 12 nightmare sovereigns began to give their scores, one by one. Each person's maximum score is 10 points. 6 to 7 points is already a very excellent level. The average score of previous Red Heart Queen's Masquerade champions is only a little over 60 points. Shaya Longness's authentic performance won unanimous praise from the 12 nightmare sovereigns. Finally, removing the highest and lowest scores, the total score added up to 63 points. This score would have been enough to win the championship in most of the 11 Red Heart Queen's masquerades. After all, being a strong player in the Legend Ranked doesn't necessarily mean being strong on the ladies' stage. In fact, many strong players in the Legend Ranked would be considered failing students on this stage. The elegant gathering, known as the Gentlewomen's Gala of Love and Charm, won't treat you any differently even if you have the power of a god and are being judged by the Nightmare Sovereigns. Chapter 1291. Pretending to be real 63 points. Flora looked at the final score on the stage with surprise. Unlike other newcomers who were participating in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade for the first time, she was well aware of the value of this score. The Red Heart Queen's ball was divided into 3 rounds, each with different topics and required different ways of performing. In the previous editions that Flora participated in and won, all the highest scores were achieved by her, with an average score of only a little over 60 points. The highest total average score was also only 6 to 9 points, which was the edition she felt she performed the best. Because in that edition, there was a legendary food she really wanted, the legendary multi-headed dragon. Don't get it wrong. It's not for her own use. She is very confident in her chest. Even if it grows bigger, it's only a small increase in magical capacity. There won't be any fundamental changes. She wants to obtain the blood of the multi-headed dragon in that bottle to sell as a commodity. There are countless legend-ranked beings who are concerned about their figures, ranging from deities to gods in the depths of the abyss. Certainly, once you reach the legend-ranked, you can freely change your appearance and size. It's not difficult to make your body grow taller than a mountain when you're full. The issue is, the size of your chest is not directly related to your strength. The essence of one's life is what the legend ranked shapes. It's impossible to disguise yourself. In other words, the size of your chest before the legend ranked is the same as after becoming the legend ranked. It won't change your essence just because you have achieved immortality. The appearance you change into is like stuffing your clothes with padding, it's just deceiving oneself. The fake chest that ordinary people stuff won't enhance the witch's talent, it's just self-deception. The disguised large chest is just a joke, it's no different from a clown in the eyes of the same legend ranked. However, the special effect of the multi-headed dragon's blood is different. It's not a disguise, but a targeted enhancement of the essence of life, to be precise, it's breast augmentation. Harmless, and even beneficial, this breast augmentation treasure has no negative effects. It's no wonder that the demon dragon, who used to be extremely powerful and famous among the dragon clan, eventually fell into a tragic fate of fleeing all over the world. A bottle of multi-headed dragon's blood can make even the mighty god-slaying sky sword discard its prestige and openly fight for it. If it weren't for the limited number of invitations to the Red Heart Queen's masquerade and the fact that it took place in a crack between reality and nightmare, there would have been more than just the god-slaying sky sword trying to grab the goods. Flora couldn't do anything about the god-slaying sky sword, so in the end, she could only take a consolation prize and leave. It is said that after escaping, the god-slaying sky sword proudly showed off for a while, fully proving the amazing power of the dragon's blood. Thanks to her, the Dragon Blood Alliance continued to expand, with several legend rankeds joining the alliance to hunt down this demon dragon. Every time the demon dragon's trace was found, it was one of the most spectacular battlefields in the Endless God's domain, often causing darkness and a lack of light. Being able to survive among so many female legend-ranked goddesses and evil gods, and successfully escape every time, this demon dragon has become a legend in the Endless God's domain. Senior. I won't lose. Despite everything going according to plan, Flora still felt a bit uneasy. This uneasiness kept increasing since Lilibet appeared. This time, she had confidence that she could achieve an unprecedented score and would definitely not lose to anyone. At this point, the Red Heart Queen's blood wine, which is the highest reward, is no longer the most important treasure for Flora. She had something she wanted more, something more important. Soon, the second participant was also chosen. Burp me. Ouroboros, who was drunk, shook her head and looked at the beam of light that fell on her head. Go ahead. I believe in you. Cassina the battle god pushed Ouroboros seriously, indicating that she should show her true abilities at this time. Believe me, you have potential. Well, the potential to nag and avoid paying debts. Wait, I'm not mentally prepared yet. Ouroboros exclaimed and disappeared from the dining table. Just like Shaya Longness's appearance, the scenery that appeared next to Yoon, she was also very deep in Ouroboros's memory and related to love. Wow, this is Hydera's wine cellar. For Ouroboros, this was a dream paradise where she could stay forever. Every day there was delicious wine, no worries about debt collectors coming, and she could drink with Cassina the battle god, a like-minded companion. There was no better place than this. The useless snake can stay here in the wine cellar for 1,000 years. Also, this is where she fell in love. It's here that she met Cassina the battle god's youngest disciple, and then they stared at each other naked and made all sorts of mistakes. Let me have a little more, another glass. Ouroboros fell flat on the ground with rosy cheeks, her lower body naturally turning into a snake tail. This is also acceptable, I guess. Yoon looked at Ouroboros, who almost shattered his impression of the legendary fantasy creature, with a feeling of mixed emotions. Why did I come here? Ouroboros burped, feeling dizzy and looking at Yoon with a blurry gaze. Your scent reminds me of someone. This time, there won't be any big ding-dongs inside the skirt, right? Come, big sister will shower you with love. Well, Ouroboros had another incurable fetish. Whenever she saw a pretty and cute girl, she wanted to get intimate. Until one day, she met her destined nemesis, a boy who, in every aspect, looked and smelled and tasted amazing, without a doubt a peerless beauty in a boy's disguise. If you walk on the night road too much, you will eventually meet a ghost. If you fall into the gutter, it means bad things happen when you're too happy, like a snake biting its own tail. Don't be afraid, this is a very comfortable thing. Dragging its own snake tail, the tipsy Ouroboros is having its old problem again. I know, but I think you will regret it. Yunshi now only has the appearance of the legend ranked, but lacks the power of the legend ranked. Even if Ouroboros is very weak, it is still a true ancient fantasy creature that can wrap around the stars. If it forces itself onto Yunshi, he won't be able to resist. The problem is, this is not the real Hydera wine cellar. Ouroboros is destined to fail here. Chapter 1292. The defeat of Ouroboros. Let me taste it, said the drunk Ouroboros. So straightforward, naked desire, that's what Ouroboros is. By the way, she, who was entwined by the faceless god, even stuck out her own tongue and started licking the faceless god's earlobe. I don't think this is a good idea, Yunshi said helplessly as he looked at the drunken Ouroboros. This development feels familiar. Next, it's about not going any further, but engaging in the passionate and intense entanglement that Ouroboros likes. Oh no, just imagining it gives me an urge of excitement. Stay calm, Yunshi, if I actually do this, won't I just be repeating the same mistake? It doesn't matter whether it's good or not. Big sister will teach you something enjoyable, Ouroboros chattered on, forgetting that this was not Hydera's wine cellar, but the stage of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Impulses cannot be stopped. What's wrong with loving to lick pretty girls? It's just a small personal preference. That Hydera has some improper habits of keeping young brides as well. Emitem. Ouroboros continued to attack fiercely, daringly and passionately displaying their fetishes. That long tongue kept licking the ear of the faceless god non-stop, releasing the irresistible allure of Ouroboros. There are two ways snakes kill their enemies. One is injecting venom into their enemies with their poisonous fangs, causing excruciating pain and paralysis, eventually leading to death by poisoning. The predecessor of Hydera, the water god, the nine-headed snake, is very skilled in this attack method. Hydera's venom is a deadly toxin that even demigod heroes cannot resist. The other way is to constrict and strangle their opponents with their own bodies, squeezing the life out of them. These snakes usually have large bodies and extraordinary endurance, and they can even hold onto their enemies for days and nights. Ouroboros is such a snake, and its body, capable of wrapping around stars, is the best proof. Well, if we talk about using the method of love as an attack, Hydera the water god would use the poison wine brewed by itself to conquer the heart of its new bride. As for Ouroboros, it's more straightforward, just wrap around, whether it's persistent pursuit or being single-minded, anyway, getting on board first is always the right thing to do. Without the legendary brewing ability of Divine Era and Hydera the water god, one can only rely on their own body. Thankfully, Yunshi is already experienced in battles and has developed adaptability to expressions of love from snake-like creatures like lamias, so he has a lot of insights into the raps of Ouroboros. After all, among many water god brides, lamia's mating time has always been the longest, surpassing other races by several streets. Ouroboros, when it wraps around, definitely seems to be a little off. In the past, most of the beautiful girls that she entwined with were shocked and many even fainted, becoming completely weak. However, the faceless god didn't show any signs of discomfort. One could say it was very accustomed to her entwining, as if it had already experienced such intimate acts many times before. Well, this isn't an illusion. Yunshi has long developed an adaptability trait when being entwined by a lamia bride. The always passionate lamia brides, sometimes one, sometimes two or three, and at one point there were even 4 entwining with him, engaging in various shameful and bold activities. Moreover, it lasted for a very long time, not just your average long. They really enjoy close physical contact, and when lamia bride's tender and pinkish skin touches Yunshi's, it always turns bright red and he involuntarily trembles. Yunshi could clearly see how the redness climbed up the beautiful chin, the moist jade neck, the snow-white skin, and reached all the places it could touch. Everything felt warm and smooth, without any roughness. At this moment, Ouroboros felt the same way. The daringly exposed chest, pure and flawless like crystal, had already blushed a beautiful shade of pink due to shyness. It was a captivating sight of bashful charm, as if inviting yet rejecting, making people inexplicably excited and restless. Wet red lips parted, exhaling a hot breath. The body was even hotter, and besides the unconscious moans, the cherry lips paid no attention to anything else. At times like these, all it took was a subtle twist of Yunshi's body with a certain skilled technique. Ouroboros let out a seductive whimper from the nose. The chaotic mind had already gone completely blank. Beneath the thin nightwear, the fair skin looked delicate and smooth, seemingly glowing and flowing with a hint of radiance. It had a delightful elasticity, exuding a seductive charm. Without hands, just the trembling rhythm of the body made Ouroboros incredibly moist. The heavy breathing, the slightly frowned eyebrows, the alluring murmurs, the weak and tender appearance, all told Yunshi that she was ready. Clenching his silver teeth, breathing heavily, facing resistance, a soaring and passionate urge. Lamia's murmurs accompanied Yunshi during those days, ultimately teaching him the special skill of immunity against large snakes. This ability had defeated Ouroboros the last time, and this time was no exception. Ouroboros, who had originally initiated the entanglement, was now gasping for breath and on the verge of surrender. Of course, in the eyes of others, it was completely different. They could only see Ouroboros, who had fiercely charged forward with its serpent tail, skillfully entangling the faceless god, and then executing a terrifying strangling technique. In a way, this wasn't wrong. Fail. I think it's okay. This is too shameless, it's like bullying. A disgrace among ladies, at least confirm whether the other person agrees or not. Keep going, keep going. It seems like the judges of the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns have mixed feelings about Ouroboros' performance. 0 points. Just barely 4 points. 7 points. 0 points. Speed, 8 points. By removing the highest and lowest scores, the final score for the intoxicated monster Lady Ouroboros is 39 points. Without a doubt, she failed. However, surprisingly, she received high scores from certain judges, which just goes to show that not everyone cares about human morals. Some judges just love to see beasts and beautiful girls. Ahum. Chapter 1293, Battle God appears almost, just a little more. Ouroboros stared blankly at the faceless god on stage, looking confused. Not bad, I thought you could only score in single digits. Cassina the battle god curiously looked at the lost Ouroboros. From Ouroboros' performance, it can be seen that the judges' scoring scale for this competition is very wide, or rather, very inclusive. If Ouroboros, who played his true self, can get such a high score, she is still very confident in her own performance. Unlike the foolish Ouroboros, Cassina the battle god is a genuine professional dancer. She can become the star of the troupe and receive countless love letters. The demands from wealthy businessmen and officials are too numerous to count. Of course, Cassina the battle god resolved all of them in a physical sense. Woo. I didn't drink that much, why? Ouroboros held on to Cassina the battle god, with a face full of despair. She almost lost her virtue, just by a little bit. These days, the goal for beautiful girls seems to be having big chests and being good at licking things. Just now, she completely loosened up and was at the mercy of someone else's actions. This world is so scary. Don't worry, I didn't expect you to win, said Cassina the battle god as he patted Ouroboros on the head and squinted while looking at the prince standing alone on the stage. Judging from Shaya Longness the Sky Swords and Ouroboros' performance earlier, this is a very calm and composed ancient deity who can maintain stability no matter when. Even Cassina the battle god wouldn't dare claim to be able to withstand Ouroboros' entangling attacks to this extent. It looks like it's time to show your true skills. Cassina the battle god has already realized the true nature of this ladylike stage. The Will of Nightmares will project memorable places onto the stage where participants have to perform. Fake disguises can never deceive people. I'm afraid nobody can pretend on this stage. Therefore, the embarrassing record of 0 points was left behind on the stage by the Sky Sword senior she had encountered in the past. No problem. Come on. Cassina, the battle god, had a feeling that she was about to make an appearance. In the next moment, a beam of light moved onto Cassina, the battle god's head, choosing her as the unbeatable legend of the battle god's grand martial arts tournament. It's Cassina, The battle god. She's appearing so quickly, I'm looking forward to her performance. After all, she is the undefeated champion of the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament, and she might create another record. As one of the favorites chosen by the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns, Cassina the Battle God's appearance caused quite a stir. Among all the participants, Cassina the Battle God is the only legendary warrior who has defeated the Nightmare Sovereign and holds a positive record. She has achieved her strength by using her own fists and kicks. Unlike Cyber Elf Alpha, who has a natural advantage in calculation power, Cassina the Battle God's strength is well-rounded and is hailed as the strongest legend in the current event, known as the Sky Sword. If anyone in this ball is going to break the rules again and do something unconventional like stealing gifts, it must be her, as there is a precedent for it. The endless golden desert, a massive transparent hourglass, and a gravel river that seems to stretch all the way to the edge of the world. Yunshi knew this place. It was revealed to him by the White Lotus secret treasure, and it belonged to Cassina the Battle God's secret. In the world of Sand of Time, a magical place with a golden hourglass. Once you immerse yourself in the river of time, you'll forget the concept of time and go with the flow until you awaken again, break through the legend ranked, and walk out of the river of time. In the future shown by the White Lotus secret treasure, Yunshi was thrown into the river of time by Cassina the Battle God and immersed in it for thousands of years. Finally, he burst out and gained the power to dance with Cassina the Battle God. Indeed, this is the place. Cassina the Battle God happily took off his shoes and walked barefoot on the soft golden gravel. With healthy brown skin, exotic dancer decorations, and long legs with anklets, you can't imagine that this person is the legendary Cassina the Battle God in the Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament Sky Sword God's domain. You don't seem surprised at all. Have you already seen what's inside Sand of Time? Behind Cassina the Battle God, the golden hourglass sword resonated with this world in a wonderful way. The fantasies created by the combined power of the 12 Nightmare Sovereigns closely resemble the original concept of Sand of Time, which is the terrifying aspect of Nightmare World. Reality and illusion constantly intertwine and loop in dreams. You will never know which phenomena you encounter in Nightmare World are real and which are dreams. The boundary between the two becomes ambiguous and blurry, which is one of the characteristics of Nightmare World. It's not a lie, Yunshi did come here, but not in the distant past, but in the future depicted by the White Lotus secret treasure. In that future, he used the power of the seed of the Battle God to break through the barrier of the hero ranked and was then caught by his teacher, Cassina the Battle God, and thrown into the Sword of Time called Sand of Time. He saw this scenery and finally fell into the River of Time. The passing of 1,000 years felt like a dream. Yunshi himself cannot remember what he encountered, who he met, and what he lost in the 1,000 years in the River of Time. However, when he walked out of the River of Time, tears fell involuntarily. It seems that he lost something very important and forgot someone very important. After 1,000 years in a dream, when the sand of the River of Time settled, he had truly become the legend ranked. That was also the most real and graspable future depicted by the White Lotus secret treasure. Because that future was so true and not illusory, Yunshi even felt a hint of his own legend-ranked opportunity. And all of this was brought by his teacher Cassina the Battle God right in front of him. If he were to reveal his identity now, would he step into the trajectory of that future? Just nod and choose to use Seed of the Battle God to break through the hero ranked. Teacher Cassina the Battle God will definitely be very happy, and then take myself back. Really stubborn and powerful, such a charismatic teacher. Unfortunately, this choice cannot appear. For present-day Yunshi, the 1,000 years of time is really too heavy. He cannot imagine the future after choosing this path. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.